why the hell this house ain't clean,
Kid,
man?
hey,
Where the food at?
hey,
Man, oh my God.
Been working all day. Dang.
Private numbers on the phone.
And it make me wonder.
No meal when I'm home.
It make me wonder.
And you don't even want a bone.
And it make me wonder.
The wrong name when you moan.
And that make me wonder.
Private numbers on the phone.
And it make me wonder.
No meal when I'm home.
And it make me wonder.
And you don't even want a bone.
And it make me wonder.
The wrong name when you moan.
And that make me wonder.
I told my girl to try new things, talk, but she say she ain't into that.
Mine's is into that. She all on the internet.
What you mean, MySpace?
Hell yeah, MySpace. Then she wanna trip when it's chicks in my face.
Blah, 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 etc., etc.
You ain't gon' find nobody better.
But her girlfriend's telling her
She's a princess.
but Chuck, I love her. Should I come to my senses?
Pussy whoop, that vagina got you senseless.
No, Chuck, I'm just saying I'm coming home to new.
Man, I need a blunt. Matter of fact, twist two of them.
She say that house dirty, so I blame it on the poodle.
Ain't clean the bathroom in weeks.
And she won't get pissed off when it's piss on the seat. Private numbers on the phone.
And that make me wonder.
No meal when I'm home.
And that make me wonder.
And you don't even want a bone.
And that make me wonder.
The wrong name when you moan.
And that make me wonder.
Private numbers on the phone.
And it make me wonder.
No meal when I'm home.
And it make me wonder.
And you don't even want a bone.
And that make me wonder.
The wrong name when you moan.
And that make me wonder. Tossing in the bed, strange thoughts in my head.
What you think, she cheating?
Nah, I don't know, I ain't give her a reason.
Every time I go to mine's office, her boss just leaving.
Breathing and wheezing like she got asthma.
She just got 3 raises and a brand new plasma.
Mine spend all my money at garage sales.
I was thinking about marriage, buying a ring from Zelle.
Why she need $100 just to do her nails?
Man, she won't even salute my little soldier.
Just don't care.
I just swear she bipolar.
She take my Escalade.
Got me driving her Nova.
She bought a 7-Up.
Man, she know I like cola.
Forgot I was born in the month of October.
Man, I'm finna go and tell her that it's over.
Man, I'm finna go and tell her that it's over.
Yes, I just want to let you know that I'm going to be. Stop, Ryan. I'm going to be working so a little late tonight, so could you go home and make sure the kids are in bed and probably have to cook yourself something to eat tonight, so. Okay. Well, until you.
That's what I'm talking about right there. You see that? It's a wrap. We done.
Hey, how y'all doing out there? Man, the sound is kind of weird today. I don't even know. I feel awkward too. Maybe it's because I haven't been on here in a while. Well, anyways, I'm back, y'all. I'm back. You know, our schedule is probably going to be like this. It's probably going to be Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday night. And we might do extra shows on Saturday and possibly Tuesday. But Saturday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday night at 10-ish is probably going to be the schedule for y'all if y'all want to get, in on this. Couple things. My car, I had to fix my car, a new alternator and battery and back rear brakes. Came at a bad time too, right here at the end of the month. Well, at the beginning of the month. And you got to pay all these bills. So that kind of hurts, but it is what it is. We're going to keep it rolling. And that caused me to miss a couple days of school. And anyways, I was exhausted today because of running around trying to play catch up. And anyway, so that's why I'm a little bit late today. I had to come home from school and take a freaking nap. I was freaking exhausted, man. I was freaking exhausted. It is what it is, but we'll possibly have a guest later. I think Pat might come through. I was supposed to have a couple of others, but ain't nobody hitting me back. So you guys out there, if y'all want to join, oh shoot, let me do that so that everybody can click in. I didn't do that. Hold on. Let me add this to the thing. So anyone that wants to join, just click the link and you can give your commentary. I love to hear from you. The whole point, I want to build this channel up, and I want it to be conversations between random people and random subjects. I want y'all to feel comfortable here, you know? I want y'all to be able to speak freely, you know, for the most part, and share ideas and try to figure out, you know, where people are on subjects, because I say, you know, they got people thinking that they're conservative or liberal and making people choose a camp. And I think that it's way more complicated than that. And we need to talk about it so that people can see that there's people out there that's just like them, that's not cookie cutter, fit nicely into conservative or fits nicely into liberal. You know, I don't think anyone does. So, but I think that we're unaware of it because the media creates these products, you know, for us to consume. You know, they create these superstars, they create these, you know, brands, and we, you know, that's what we latch on to with our loyalty, and that's how we get lost, you know. It is what it is. Let me put a little bit. Click the link and join. Yeah. So yeah, shouts out to everyone out there been checking me out lately. My page is really growing. I'm getting more views and clicks. You know, I'm streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch right now. So that's what it is. And hopefully I can get some Twitch followers out there. I don't really know how to do that, but I don't know if anybody watches me on Facebook either, but I'm never on there. But I will broadcast on there. Hee hee. Anyways, y'all, let's keep it moving. We're going to talk about China's attack on tech. We're going to talk about science as a religion. We're going to talk about is there evil in the music and movie industry? You know, I think that's interesting. And some random news we're going to talk about. So, you know, and some of this stuff, I try to keep everything up to date for y'all whenever I'm loading videos and getting ready for my show and whatnot. But some of this stuff might be a couple of days older. But I do use older videos for context and for y'all to understand things and to, you know, because there's so much knowledge out there. Those really old videos are has the most knowledge in them because the internet has gotten better at filtering information. So the earlier stuff that got on the internet is a lot better than some of this later stuff. Even though it looks better, the later stuff looks better. The older stuff doesn't look as good, but the information is way more solid. So that's how I feel. So, but like I say, whenever I'm doing news stories, I try to keep them pretty recent for y'all. And so like we're gonna play catch up a little bit because I've been getting ready for this show since, I don't know, Sunday, Monday, something like that. Did y'all hear about the girl who died? The Instagram model. She's from Houston. Check it out.
Miss Mercedes Moore was found at the Cortland Apartments on Point West Circle yesterday. KPRC 2's Devin Clark is live for us now in Richmond with the latest information on this investigation. Devin?
Lauren, there's a lot of confusion being expressed by neighbors of the Instagram model who tell me that the Cortland Apartments is usually very quiet, but news of what investigators are calling a murder-suicide has them on edge and on a quest for answers.
Oh my God, that's scary.
News of what Richmond police are calling a murder-suicide is rocking the Cortland apartment complex.
Because it's safe over here. We have the gates, the fence, everything. You know, you got to have a code to get in, code to get out, and, you know, I'm just in shock.
Yesterday afternoon, investigators say they discovered the body of Janae Gagnier, better known on social media as Miss Mercedes Moore, along with the body of a man in his 30s, believed to have killed her and then himself.
What I thought was safe, it seems it's not. And we have so many rules and so many guidelines. I would never expect someone to breach our security and someone being murdered on this property.
The death of Moore, who had over 2.5 million followers on Instagram, grabbing the attention of celebrities like music artist Tory Lanez, who posted this picture of her with the caption, "Rest in peace, Queen." Neighbors echoing the sentiment and also hoping for answers. And one of the answers they're looking for is why. There is no motive yet released in this case.
New this morning, we now know the name of the man accused of killing a Richmond Instagram model in an apparent murder-suicide, and police say the two did not have any type of relationship. 34-year-old Kevin Alexander Acorto is accused of killing Janae Gagne, also known as Miss Mercedes Moore. Acorto has a Florida address. Investigators believe that he killed Gagne and then killed himself. Gagne had more than 2.5 million followers on Instagram.
Crazy motherfucker, bro. I play this story because it's scary as hell. Like what I be talking about all the time, this scariest thing, and I try to instill this into my daughter is like, you know, most of the murders are domestic. They're almost always domestic. It's your husband, it's your wife, it's your boyfriend, it's your girlfriend, it's your ex, it's, you know, it's your cousin, it's your dad, it's your mom, it's your kids. The murders are usually domestic, you know, and that's what I'm saying is really scary is like this guy was in her house. They say he was a stalker, but how did he get in her house? So it's like, it sounds like she knew him some kind of way. And that's what I be saying though, like, you know, if you get murdered, it's going to be by somebody that you know, and somebody, and it could be, it most likely probably going to be somebody you consider a friend or you think you care about or they care about you or something like that. Y'all have some kind of relationship. So like I say, that's what's really scary about all this is because like you get close to somebody and you don't really know them or something or whatever. And then, freak, they kill you. Like, oof. And I've had some exes that I think had the ability of killing me. I ain't gonna lie.
Now, the family of an Instagram model who was killed in an apparent murder-suicide is now speaking out. We first told you about the death of Miss Mercedes Moore yesterday.
Authorities say her body was found in her apartment in Fort Bend County, along with the body of a man who killed her on Sunday. And now her family has come forward to share their heartbreak as they search for answers following this disturbing discovery. KPRC 2's Jacob Rascone live in Richmond tonight with the new details. Jacob?
The family says they hadn't heard from her for a couple days, so they showed up here to the apartment complex. When no one answered when the dad knocked, he kicked the door in and said he found his daughter there on the floor, already deceased, and her killer upstairs with a knife in him, still alive. To her parents and other family and friends, 33-year-old Janae Gagne was so much more than an Instagram model.
She was special. Just like she had a few million followers, that's all fine and good. But she was a person, and we miss her a lot.
Searching us out to get the facts. Janae was loved, funny, goofy.
And you know what's crazy about that is like, okay, so he took her life and then like he decided for them to die together. Like it's like some romantic Romeo and Juliet type shit. Like, he decided when her journey ended, and he decided when his journey ended and decided that their journeys were going to end together. That's so crazy. And was he stalking her? It's like that kind of makes you wonder about being on the internet and being famous on the internet or whatever. Can maybe that attract people that want to kill you? I mean, I don't know. Whew. Anyways, let's keep it moving. I'm finna change subjects. Let's go.
We are following breaking news near the Heights tonight. That's where a Houston police officer was injured after a traffic stop. Police say he was dragged by the driver of a vehicle he pulled over. It happened just after 7 this evening on East 36th Street near Main Street. Our Bill Barajas live from the scene with the very latest tonight. Bill?
Well, first and foremost, HPD telling me that the suspect and that police officer have been taken to the hospital for their injuries. The officer suffering road rash after being dragged by the suspect and his vehicle for a short period of time. The suspect, we're told, was shot at least one time in the arm. Both are expected to be okay. Now, I want to give you just a quick look here at the scene. There are multiple crime scene units as well as an investigator from the Harris County District Attorney's Office. We're told by HPD that this started as a traffic stop near the intersection of 36 and Main. During the stop, the suspect allegedly refused to cooperate and eventually tried to drive off. The officer was then dragged but was able to pull out his weapon and fire at the suspect, hitting him in the arm at least one time. Again, both the suspect and officer are expected to be okay. We're told detectives are in the process of reviewing body cam footage and will then update us on what they find. We will then in turn update you as that information becomes available. Live in the Heights area, Bill Barajas, KPRC 2 News.
Bill, thank you.
That's crazy, right? That's random as hell. Totally random. Completely random. Whew. Let's go. Okay. So the thing is, we're gonna talk about some stuff today, and I like to start off with like news and shit, just because, you know what I mean. I don't know, and then I try to get the bots away and the freaking YouTube police away too. So I start off with a bunch of da, and then we get heavier as we go. Usually, that's kind of how I tend to set up the shows, and also usually we talk a lot more later in the show. So early on, I like to play the videos so we can have stuff to talk about. And then we do the talking later on. But anyways, check this out. And I should have somebody coming.
What's that you're reading?
Karl Marx?
Surely you're not a communist.
Do I have to be a communist to read Karl Marx?
Rupert. That's a valid answer. Well, if you're not a communist, what are you?
Nothing.
Nothing?
I dislike all forms of government.
But somebody must rule.
And I don't like the word rule.
Well, if we don't like the word rule, let's call it leadership.
Leadership in government is political power, and political power is an official form of antagonizing the people.
What magazine did you say he edits?
A commentary on current events.
Pardon me, but, my dear young man, politics are necessary.
Politics are rules imposed upon the people.
In this country, rules are not imposed. They are the wish of all free citizens.
Travel around a bit, then you'll see how free they are.
Yes, but you didn't let me finish.
They have every man in a straitjacket, and without a passport, he can't move a toe.
But if you'll allow me to...
In a free world, they violate the natural rights of every citizen.
But you don't let me fully...
They have become the weapons of political despots.
Yes, but may I...
And if you don't think as they think, you're deprived of your passport.
Will you allow me to...
To leave a country is like breaking out of jail.
Yes,
and to enter a country is like going through the eye of a needle.
But
Am I free to travel?
Of course you're free to travel.
Only with a passport.
Will you allow me to say something?
Only with a passport. Do animals need passports?
Have you finished?
It's in Congress that in this atomic age of speed, we are shut in and shut out by passports.
If you'll shut up and let somebody else talk...
And free speech, does that exist?
No, you've got it all.
And free enterprise.
We were talking of passports.
Today it's all monopoly.
All right. Now will you...
Can I go into the automobile business and compete with the Auto Trust?
If I can get in a word...
Not a chance. Can I go into the grocery business and compete with the chain stores?
Will you shut up?
Not a chance. Monopoly is the menace of free enterprise.
Did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that? I don't want to repeat a lot of that because that's kind of like stuff that gets kind of, you know, gets really touchy. But, you know, hey, so how do y'all feel like monopoly is the against free enterprise? Like he said, can I open a grocery store? Really? You know, do I really have free speech? You know, and what about passports? Do animals have to have passports? So it's like a cage, or is it, you know, oh, there's a lot there with that shit. There's a whole lot there. The little kid, man, I can't remember. Hold on. I don't want to play it again, but I do want to play it again.
What's that you're reading?
Karl Marx?
Surely you're not a communist.
Do I have to be a communist to read Karl Marx?
Rupert. That's a valid answer. Well, if you're not a communist, what are you?
Nothing.
Nothing?
I dislike all forms of government.
But somebody must rule.
Like, he said nothing. So it's like, that's the thing I'll be saying about, are you a Republican or are you a Democrat? Are you a liberal? Are you a conservative? No. None of those. Nothing. Anyways, I'm kind of waiting for my guests to come on. Let's do Hollywood.
They've been desensitizing us since we were born. And I'll give you some examples. Let's start with the big one. Let's start with words we hear all the time and never even think about. Let's start with the word entertainment. To entertain. What does that mean? To bind or hold. To bind or hold what? An audience's attention. Okay, now let's take the word Hollywood. Where does that come from? Well, Hollywood comes from the holly tree. And the ancient Druids, back in the day, used to take the holly tree, make wands to weave spells, cast spells, or channel spells. And when they needed help, they would consult the magi's or the mediums of the day to help channel their spells to the population. We'll cut to today. What do we have in our houses? We have these black boxes. What are they called? TVs. But if you stop and you say the word television, and when you turn on that television, what do you get? What's the first thing that pops up? A list of channels. And when you turn on those channels, what's on those channels? Programming. They are programming you. They've been programming your whole life. You don't even know it. They do it with your music. They do it with your TV. They do it with your movies. They do it with your games. They have been programming us and programming you since you were little, and you don't even know it because you don't even question it.
Television, programming, broadcasting, casting spells broadly, programming. And everybody say that commercials don't affect me, or, you know, the movies can't program me. But I say that you're no special from anybody else, and the freaking science behind this shit says otherwise, you know, and I believe in science. So, how you like my shirt? You like my shirt? Let's keep it moving.
My greatest problem is music. There was a guy called John Todd that explained what music was. He was this high up level Satanist. He used to be over Zodiac Records, which was the biggest records back in the 70s. This guy said that what they do is, when the artist cut a record, they take the master.
The master is a tape about as big as the top of this podium that looks like an overgrown 8-track. On the full moon, it's taken in to a temple room about the size of this auditorium that is in every one of the major music companies, behind locked doors up in the executive office. And it's placed on an altar sitting in the north of the room, and a pentagram engraved in the floor.
And they conjure up spirits on that record, and they command devils. That's why everything sounds like a chant. It's all about chanting. It's chanting. It's chanting. That's what it's about.
I ain't gonna lie, that's scary stuff. You know, I do music. I love music. I love music. And I ain't gonna lie, with as far as with black people, I don't feel, besides church, I don't see anything having more impact on us. And I'm sure music has way more impact on us than church. Maybe it's the music that's in church that impacts us. So, you know, it's the vibrations, it's the spirit, it's the energy, you know, it's the vibe, right? People say they like this song, they like, it's all about the vibe. It's all about the vibe. So do you think about what is the different hertz that's coming out of this? It's science to this stuff, you know, what speed it is, like what is the frequency, what is the BPMs. So anyway, like I said, I used to do music. Well, I still kind of do a little bit. And I don't know, the whole time I felt like, I was trying to avoid the whole thing. And that's probably why I wasn't successful in it. I was trying to avoid, getting caught up in it because I could see that, certain music gets promoted, if you will. It's not that everybody is making demonic music per se. It's more like the music that brings out your lower self. That's what gets promoted because the powers that be, they want you to behave like animals. So yeah, so they want to bring out your lower self. So these vibrations, these spirits, these energies, they get on you and they cause you to behave at a lower vibration so that you're easier to be manipulated and programmed, So that's what's scary, It's really scary. I ain't gonna lie. I don't listen to the radio. I haven't listened to the radio in some years now. And I barely listen to popular music. I'll check it out on YouTube sometimes. But the images and the vibrations, the spirits, they are pretty damn low, very low. So I just kind of avoid it because I want to vibrate higher, So I'll listen to what's up, everybody? What's up, Amaru G in the building? Yeah. So, anyways, like I say, I want to vibrate higher, so I avoid those low vibrational things, and that's the same reason why I avoid the TV. And there's some TV shows that I would love to kind of get into, but also the thing is why I avoid them is because like you get into it and you get stuck, and then you can't do anything else. You become unproductive. It definitely gets me. It gets me. I'm not. It gets me just like anybody else. I'll get into a TV show on Netflix or Hulu, HBO Max, or whatever the hell it is. And like I say, I don't like commercials, but still, I'm still watching the damn TV show. And then it's like it keeps going and going and going and going and going and going and going. I can't go to sleep. I can't do nothing else. I'm stuck in this damn show. Sometimes it'd be good information. So if it's like a documentary type of thing, then I'm not going to feel bad. But I can get stuck into something that's all the way not productive. Like I say, low frequency. So I try to avoid it as much as I can. I'm on YouTube mostly. I will scroll Instagram and there are some ads on there. But, and then, whenever you Google something, you could possibly get ads that way. But for the most part, I avoid all of that shit. And I don't like to watch the big movies either, because most of these movies are propaganda.
Real fundamentalist religion is scientism. And you can't question it, just try. Just try. And you watch how they descend upon you in a wave of trolls. I mean, it was like, I was like Lord of the Rings. I'm throwing 3 goblins off the cliff over here. There's 6 more coming over here. You think that you can get alternative medicine? Then why are there doctors in Ontario getting little knocks on their door? Who are you? We're here to see if you have any ozone equipment here in this chiropractic office. I don't have any ozone equipment in this chiropractic office. What are you talking about? Well, we're here to just check. Now, ozone as a healing technology and information, you should, as you develop yourself in the alternative healing field, or actually natural and real healing field, become aware of inventions by people like Nikola Tesla, including the ozone plasma tube, which sends oxygen through a tube that strikes an arc, an electrical arc on that tube, and it turns that oxygen into O3, because oxygen's O2 usually. 03, 04, 05, 06, 07, 08, 09, 010, 011, 012, 013, 014, etc. And what happens is that comes out And you can use that ozone, the electrically charged oxygen, to immediately fry viruses, fungus, yeast, and mold. Wherever they are. Let's say it's an ear infection. Boom, you stick that thing in your ear for 2 seconds. Pop it out. Boom. Not allowed. Scientism won't allow it. It's not allowed. Why? Well, because the pill for every ill is making too much money. That's why it's not allowed. And then they use that leverage to drive education systems to brainwash every one of us from birth. We all been brainwashed from birth. To break out of that brainwashing is very, very intense. You'll battle me. You'll fight me about it. You will. And other people will too. And they'll battle you they will fight you to the death because their belief system is their religion. And you question that belief system, you're battling a fundamentalist religion. And you're battling a fundamentalist religious zealot. And you know what that means. I think you do. I think you know what that means. So in order for us to even have a real conversation about healing and health today, we have to understand what we are up against. We have to know what we're going to do to change it and how we're going to transform our world going into the future. But unless we know who we're up against, we cannot do that. So materialism and the fundamental battle of good versus evil. I've been looking at this for years and years, right? We're all educated. Our system is very, what's the word that's commonly used? We are educated in a scholastic, it's essentially atheistic kind of system, right? It's all materialism. You're a product of a monkey, all that stuff. And any evidence that comes in other than that is not allowed in because then all of a sudden, then you're this, then you're a creationist, then you're a fundamentalist Christian. So it's either this extreme or that extreme. Maybe it's neither. Maybe it's neither. When we get into breaking down our systems of learning, we have to understand that there are forces that are parasitic in our world, and there are forces that create and evolve.
And that's what I be talking about, because y'all want to say good and evil. I just put that in the title just because that's how y'all understand, or most people understand things. But what he said there at the end was, people are either trying to create something or people are trying to destroy things, Like I try to explain to my daughter, like somebody spent a whole bunch of time. You go to the beach, right? You got all the little utensils that you're going to use to make the sandcastle, and you make this awesome ass sandcastle with a moat and multiple towers with intricate details on the top and doorways and shit. And then some little kid just comes by and kicks it. You spent hours working on the sandcastle, and it took the little kid seconds to destroy all of it. So what I like to say, it's much easier to destroy. So that's a low vibration activity. It's much more difficult to create. So that's a higher vibrational activity. So that's the dynamic forces at work, right? The easy destruction or the difficult creation. And so people get to choose one or the other. It's not necessarily good and evil or whatever, That's what I try to get people to understand. And y'all remember in Houston when we used to have the oxygen bars? We used to have oxygen bars all over Houston. You could go in there and it was kind of like a bar, but they sold oxygen and you could pick the different flavors. You go in and you do it, and it's fun. It was just like a cool hippie type of thing to do. But they took that shit away and made it had to be a doctor administering the oxygen or whatever, somebody with PhD. And that's how they shut all of them down. But I think the reason why they shut them down is because, the way it was helping people. I wanted to do, we do have this thing here in Houston that you can do. I looked it up because we have an oxygen chamber, kind of like what the guy was talking about in the video. We have a place that you can go. There's a couple of locations. You can also order the machine. There's a machine or whatever. You can order online and have it shipped. Super expensive. Trust, because I don't know how much the machine costs because I didn't go down that road, but I went down the road of booking an appointment to get it done. And then you have to have a referral. And if you don't have a referral from your doctor, which nobody's going to have a referral for, because most people are not going to have a referral for, because how's your doctor going to refer you to go to an oxygen chamber, right? So anyway, so you have to pay for the referral, which is like some thousands of dollars. And then you have to pay for the visit, which is another some thousands of dollars. And so that's how it works. So like, I think it's like $5,000 and you can go, you set up your appointment and it's a treatment. It's a medical treatment or whatever. So, but what a lot of people don't know is that oxygen is like regenerating for us. You know, a lot of the diseases that we have are from lack of oxygen in our blood. You know what I'm saying? Lack of oxygen and lack of water. So those two things causes all of our fucking ailments, right? So, but what if you could just pump, like, put oxygen straight into your freaking pores, right into your freaking skin, like your body just absorb it, you know? What, and that would be like healing you, not and protecting you from getting sick. But that's what they don't want people to know. You know what I'm saying? They want you to take these pharmaceuticals so that you can keep paying for the damn pills that they fucking prescribing to you, man. Steve, science is a religion? No way. Music and movie industry evil? Yeah, I believe that. You should have watched, Steve, you should have watched the video I just played about science being a religion. And I wrote a whole paper. I wrote a whole academic paper and turned that shit in to the damn teacher. Had her looking at me crazy. I wrote a whole academic paper explaining how science is a religion, bro. I'll pull the file and break it all the way down for y'all. I just played a little video for y'all in this, and that dude just touched on it at the beginning. He was talking about a whole bunch of stuff, but this is obviously a really smart guy talking in the video who's thought about this shit really heavily. So, you know, it is what it is. Anyways, but that's what I'm doing this channel. I want to learn, teach, and explain and make the connections, because it's there, you know. He said, what do you believe about science being a religion? Well, I'm gonna play this video again for you, the beginning of it. Check it out. Maybe you missed it.
Real fundamentalist religion is scientism, and you can't question it. Just try. Just try. And you watch how they descend upon you in a wave of trolls. I mean, it was like, I was like Lord of the Rings. I'm throwing 3 goblins off the cliff over here. There's 6 more coming over here. You think that you can get alternative medicine? Then why are there doctors in Ontario getting little knocks on their door? Who are you? We're here to see if you have any ozone equipment here in this chiropractic office. I don't have any ozone equipment in this chiropractic office. What are you talking about? Well, we're here to just check. Now, ozone as a healing technology and information, you should, as you develop yourself in the alternative healing field, or actually natural and real.
Basically, kind of went in another direction, but the thing is, like he said about how you question science, you know? That was one of the things I was talking about in my paper, and I was talking about how it's a club and you have to get in and be accepted by them, because they don't publish papers that aren't approved by the freaking scientific community. If they don't like your work, it's not getting published, bro. It don't matter how freaking good it is. That's why so much shit don't come out until way fucking later, and they bury shit. They bury shit to the point it don't come out till 50 fucking years later, just because they don't. Hey, what's up? What's up, bro? You can hear me? I can hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Yeah. Now, yeah, because a lot of these things get published, but they don't get publicized. Like, you can write it, you can put it in make your articles or whatever, but then, if the major people that, what everybody's paying attention to never puts it out, then, you got a lot of work that's out there, that's just, nobody really has access to. So
Right.
that's
It's
real.
just it's sitting on a shelf somewhere. It's sitting on a shelf somewhere collecting fucking dust. And it's a whole bunch of knowledge out there, I believe, that's sitting on a desk or a computer hard drive, and it's just sitting there and nobody fucking knows and it's data. Data is the most fucking valuable ass information because data don't have no fucking, agenda. People, what happens is it's how people, interpret the data, that's when things come in. He said the writing is down, but they don't put it out. There is just buried with thousands of other papers. Yeah. That's the same thing Pat just said. So yeah, and I agree with that. I think that it's just sitting there, and but still, like I say, that's what I mean. It's a club. It's a damn religion, because if you don't believe in it, then it's like that it goes back to that holier than thou thing that I talk about when I talk about religions, because really every little, once you really start looking at it and you break it down into pieces, every little part is going to fit right into the religions. The way people act, you can't believe it. I mean, you can't disbelieve it. It's holier than thou. Don't question it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, and then the thing about it is, people are going to choose who they want to believe. And, sometimes this may be pushed on you in a certain way where it's kind of hard not to see what, because, like I said, I mean, shoot, we're dealing with a whole dynamic of that right now with what our government is allowing us to see. And there's different things that, about science that, if people had a different perspective where they could truly choose, like a lot more people would be able to make a better decision than to exist just in fear. But I would agree that science is a religion, because I mean there still is truth there, but it's being manipulated to where you only get a certain level of it.
And I agree with the truth. I'm a scientist. I go to school for anthropology. That's a science. And people want to hate on anthropology, but like a lot of people don't understand is like there's different, like there's a European anthropology and then there's like American anthropology, and they don't really get along. And the European anthropology focuses on more like historical type stuff, and uh, history. But the American anthropology focuses more on racial type shit. That's what they're avoiding. They're avoiding the whole racial thing. So, but see, in American anthropology, they feel like race don't exist at all. It's not even a thing. It's a social construct, because you can't identify somebody's race by their bones. It's only when you're alive and you have all this flesh on you that people look at you and they decide that what your race is. But if once you've passed on and your flesh has passed on, then you can't identify the race. So therefore, we say it's not a real thing. It's a social construct.
Well, is
Steve
that really
said,
true? I mean, is that like, because I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I've seen where they pull skeletons and they're telling us 50,000-year-old and 100,000-year-old skeletons, and I think that they are going into the marrow and pulling stuff to be able to detect a certain, or is it phenotype? I mean,
yeah,
what's
they can't even they can't even they can't even really determine those phenotypes. They can't determine those phenotypes from the bones. No, they can tell you where they're from, like where they were from and what they were likely to look like. Steve said, if it can't be questioned, it can't be challenged, at least in theory. And if it can't be challenged, who can possibly stand against it? And then he said, race ain't a social construct. That's a whole lot. I completely disagree, and that's the reason why I try to educate everybody, and that's the reason why I do this channel. You can't identify somebody's race from their bones, therefore it's only a social construct.
I don't know. That's something that because I'm not certain of, because like I guess I've you know maybe I've watched too many videos and trusting some of the sources for what they were, and some people have, at least from my understanding, have determined that, but like I said, I can't be 100% certain. I'm not doing any
They can
testing.
determine your blood type and all of that stuff. They cannot determine what race you was, because humans decide what race you are. We decide.
Well,
Socially.
well. See, but no, because I feel, because I kind of feel what you're saying, because they're saying that it's a social, construct. But at the same time, even though we consider a social construct, each race have different biologies. Like we actually are born and come out the way we do because our biologies have differences, and based
That's
on those differences, we can say you are part of this race or part of
But
that race.
that's just genetics. That's just genetics. That's not determining a race.
Well, but that's the thing. I mean, but that's we walk on a fine line when we're talking about genetics and race, because yeah, we're all a part of the human race, but just based on the fact of us being them being able to determine a hominid from Homo sapien, and having what's the Neanderthal DNA, those things are determined based on and what we've socially consider within these different races. So even though man made up all of these different terms, a lot of it still is based on science. Because yeah, we could have interchanged any one of these terms for the other, but it's still based on our specific biology.
Steve said, thanks for respectfully disagreeing with me and not going on a rant. But this is the place for this. That's why I make this channel, bro. I want everybody to be able to talk about these things. That's the reason why. What I was saying in the other video is, like, we all are in our freaking bubble, bro. Like our own, the algorithm, right? The the algorithm feeds us what we want, what we like, the rhetoric we like, and we don't hear nothing outside of that hardly, because the internet now, the way it is, man, you think you're getting a wide variety of news and a wide variety of whatever the hell, but you're not. The algorithm is giving you what you like, and it's filtering out all the rest of that shit. So a lot of us are in our bubbles and we're missing a whole lot of information. So that's why I make this channel. I want to bring everybody together to talk so that people can spread their ideas and what they're thinking about and shit. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm never gonna freaking like the point is we can disagree and still be okay. Like me and Pat disagree on a lot of stuff, and it is what.
No, I mean, because at the core, I'm like, I don't know it all. Like I have a lot of beliefs based on the things that I've experienced and listened to, heard, or whatever, and I'll never get to the point that I just I can't learn something different, or at least add to what I have already learned. So, but
And I'm just a knowledge fucking junkie. It's like the only thing that freaking calms me down, man. I study, and the thing is, I don't trust nothing, and that's what I say all the time. My daughter knows it. I don't trust anything. I don't trust information. I don't even trust my own memory. I don't trust anything. So I'm gonna keep digging. Whatever somebody said, or even the teacher, the professor, the book, what the book said, I don't trust that shit either. And I'm just gonna keep digging, and that's what I do, man. And I swear, I think I have a lot to give, man, because I'm always studying. I've spent a lot of time
Well,
studying.
we've been somewhat programmed to, at least for, I think our type of people, because a lot of, if you look at the average person, they don't really challenge anything. It's kind of like, oh, that's what you said, and or, that's, they just kind of follow. And I think that's a part of why it takes so long for us as humans to truly evolve to where we need to be, is because there's not enough of us that really challenges the things that goes on. I mean, I'm not saying to just jump up and challenge every little thing. If it makes sense, okay, let's go with it. But if we have something that also could make as much sense or better sense, let's evaluate it and see if we need to change our ideas.
Let me play this video right quick.
Go ahead.
I'll be right back.
Our firm belief is there are two kinds of people in the world: people who love Jesus and people who don't.
Let's stand to our feet. Hallelujah. I need you to get serious with God. Say, God, I'm here to be trained. I'm here for an education. I'm willing, God. I'll do what you want me to do. I'll say what you want me to say. In Jesus' name. Amen. If you don't open your mouth, the Holy Spirit can't talk. All right, now I want everyone to raise your hands, and we're going to pray in tongues. Hallelujah. Let's do it. Oh, we love you, Jesus. So koho rashada kahala busida. Lo rashada kahala busida. Let the Holy Spirit fall. He's here. Feel his power. Feel his power. This is you, doctor. And the Holy Spirit is just going to whisper in your ear what to say. You have the answer. Don't stop. Don't stop. This is the greatest day of your life next to the day you got saved.
I don't want to play too much of that. Make everybody mad and shit. What's
That's
up?
good. Tell me what's up with it.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, that's Pat. You can't see him because he's driving. Be careful, Pat, by the way. I'm sure you listen to stuff while you drive all the time, but I'm just saying be careful.
Oh, yeah.
Do I know Pat?
Do you know Pat? Maybe. Ashley's cousin?
Nah. I don't know any of Ashley's people.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, what do you think about what?
She's seen some of the videos, huh?
Yeah, you probably saw him on the videos. Yeah, because he's on a lot of the videos.
Yeah, I've probably seen like his face.
Yeah. So, did you catch anything? Have you seen any other shows so far? What did you see?
I was setting up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we was talking about. Let me backtrack a little bit. Catch everybody up. I talked about how monopolies, kind of everything is a monopoly, and we don't really have freedom. It's an illusion, like, because we can't compete with if we try to open a grocery store. And then I talked about how Hollywood, is kind of evil, and the music industry is kind of evil. And I talked about how science is a religion. So,
what do you think about any of the ordinances that passed today? Any of the laws that passed today?
Yeah, I saw that. The abortion. I talked about it in my other videos. I said abortion's on its way out nationally. And I wish people would wake up and freaking pay attention. I talk about this kind of shit all the time. I'm heavy into politics and nobody freaking listens to me. But people be like, okay, well, you know, if I get pregnant, I'm gonna just have an abortion. But hey, you probably gonna have to go to Mexico or Canada, nigga. Where you gonna go to get the abortion? You know, and if it makes it to the Supreme Court, I could totally see Roe versus Wade getting like modified or overturned. Well, you know what it's gonna be? It's gonna be detectable heartbeat. So detectable heartbeat. If the baby has a detectable heartbeat, you're no longer gonna be able to get an abortion. So you better know that you're pregnant in time. And that's what, within 6 weeks or some shit.
Yep. 6 weeks. That's the law that passed today.
Yeah, I saw that.
6-week fetal heartbeat law. And it's a lot deeper than what just is being reported on the surface. The law made it to where that any citizen in the United States doesn't even have to know the person, be related or anything, can sue a woman if they found out she get an abortion, and they can be awarded $10,000 plus lawyers' fees.
And they can sue the doctor. The doctor can go to jail. It's a felony if he does an abortion. It's a felony. They take him to jail.
But the clinic can be sued. Anyone who facilitates. So, say this woman gets an Uber ride to the clinic, the Uber driver can be sued. Say someone gave her gas money, that person can be sued. Say she was having a counselor, religious counseling that, you know, advised her to abort or whatever, that person can be sued. And this goes for any person in the United States. It basically deputized any person in the United States to be able to enforce that anti-abortion law.
Wow. And that's under any circumstance. There's no
They left no exceptions for rape
like
or incest or underage pregnancy or anything. So that kills going out of state, because if anybody finds out, you know, you went out of state and got an abortion, they can sue you.
This has been happening over time. People don't pay attention. Like this, they got rid of the Planned Parenthoods. First, they limited the number of them, and then they basically made it so where they couldn't operate at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so this has been happening over time. People are just not paying attention.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like I say, I think it's gonna go nationwide. It's you know, they are that's the agenda. You know, the thing is, what people don't understand about Trump had a really successful ass 4 years, bro, for the agenda that,
as far as his agenda, absolutely. He got his Supreme Court judges in, you know.
How many did they get in? 3? 2 or 3 they got in. I think they got 3 in.
And got it enough.
They got thousands of judges nationwide.
Yep. He got a few of his senators. It's crazy. And because Texas, you know, we got Abbott and Ted Cruz. They don't get 2 fucks. So
people not paying attention.
I hope this inspires people to be more responsible on the front end of all of this, because I mean, you know, I'm not a pro. I mean, you know, of course, I guess you could say somewhat pro-choice. Everybody's got a choice. You know, you're a living human being. Every man can choose, or woman can choose for themselves. But it's kind of like you can be a lot more responsible about that whole act, and you know, you just deal with the consequences of your actions. That's me. I might, you know, I get kicked in the ass for that thought process a lot, but that's just the way I see it.
It's a super touchy subject because it's a slippery rope. It's a very slippery rope because in Afghanistan, shit, how you think the Taliban gonna be doing women if they freaking want to have an abortion? So the thing is, it's a real slippery rope slide that a country is on when they're on this particular road, because how far does it go? Do we start stone? Because women gonna do abortions, right?
It's just gonna be illegal abortion.
we can't argue with that. They're gonna do them.
Legal abortion.
They're gonna still happen. So what? We'll end up stoning women in the street for doing abortions, you know? And then then it's about how our society is towards women, because that's really what it's about. It's not really about that child, because they don't
It's
care
about
about
the
the child.
control over women
It's
and
all
their
about the
reproductive
woman,
systems.
the woman. It's all about controlling her, making her submissive, making her, so they, second class citizen. It's just another way to be like, I'm a man and I got control over your body, your reproductive rights and everything. So
it's giving very much Handmaid's Tale.
I'm not a feminist. I don't agree with like a black woman being a feminist, but this is a reality that our society is patriarchal. It's very hard on women. Black men got to vote before white women got to vote. So even these white men are running the country, but the way they are towards women is like they don't shouldn't be running nothing. You know what I mean?
Exactly. They shouldn't even have a decision over their own reproductive rights. And in addition to like the being sued and whatnot, under these laws, a woman can be charged if she has a miscarriage.
Yes, I saw that.
What?
Yeah.
Because women can cause miscarriages one way or another. So that's a slippery rope, bro. That's what I'm talking about. So they could say, if the dad, he'd be like, she didn't really want the baby. So then they're gonna be like, well, then she probably did it. So then they'd be like, okay, well then, but how would you know that? How could you prove that anyways? So, but they don't really care. So it's like, okay, well, she had a miscarriage. She probably tried to abort the baby. So fucking put that bitch in jail.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that sounds a little bit crazy to me.
All of it is a little bit crazy. It's not just that one point. It's all a little bit crazy because of the simple fact, instead of investing all this money and paying for lawsuits and whatnot for people to snitch, why don't they invest that money in free contraception and education about fertility and education, sex education, and things of that nature, versus trying to sue a woman for aborting a baby? Why not get it at the root before it becomes an issue?
Yeah, their sex education, they really want to teach other things other than, responsible, true responsibility. When we lean toward
the very basis of this issue and this law is white people are becoming a minority. So they want their white babies so that they can stay in the majority, and they want all the other babies to feed their school to prison pipeline system.
Well, are they actually having as many abortions as, like, are they really a high rate of having a,
Absolutely. It's a very, very high rate. Why do you think they're calling the black women welfare queens and saying that we having babies to get a check? Which is it? Are we having babies to get a check, or are we killing them all?
Hey, that's a good question.
That was a good point, because that shows how the media fucking manipulates everyone, right? Because which is it, right? It's got to be. How could it be? It couldn't possibly be both.
That's impossible. So, in order to keep the status quo, as far as white people being the majority and them using everybody else as pretty much free slave labor in the prisons, they're going to have to do something about their declining birth rates, because their birth rates are declining rapid.
No, it's already negative. There's more of them dying than there are than that's being born. So they're at a negative rate already.
So that's what it all boils down to. It's not about, you know what I'm saying, we want these babies to live or anything like that. It's all about what they're going to be able to do, how much money they're going to be able to make off of these babies, whether they are abused and neglected in their homes, or whether they take the route of the legal kidnapping via CPS and those state organizations, whether or not they put them in a foster home and, you know, they ruin them there. Either way it goes, when they turn 18, the point is for them to be in prison.
Because my argument for the pro-life people is like, you care about that baby, but once they're born, you don't give a fuck about them no more.
Well, see,
What about the
that's
thousands?
the part. That's why I can't just take that full pro-life stance, is because if you pro-life is for everything, everybody, it's unconditional. You know what I'm saying? You know, like I said, I do expect people to be responsible about their actions, but at the same time, you know, if there's kids that's starving, if you know, even adults that's homeless, there's all kinds of people, you know, all over the place that's not eating, but you know, this is where you want to put all your energy.
Soon as that head pop out, it's like, fuck that nigga.
Yep. Cha-ching is what they hear. That's it.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Somebody else they can torture.
And if it was all about responsibility and preventing the births, then why don't they go ahead and mandate the male birth control? They have it. If it's about controlling, you know what I'm saying, irresponsible births, if you're going to mandate something with a woman, why can't you mandate something with the men as well? You have the sciences there, you know, the medicines are there. So why isn't there any legislation?
That's a very good point. I have to completely agree with you on that, because that reflects our society, because they put in the pressure on the woman. Because, you know, I mean, I always, you know, I have daughters, so I'm gonna tell them that, you know, it's on you. You the one finna have that baby. But as a society, why don't we make it more balanced as far as male contraception, as far as, you know, I mean, we have condoms, but what I mean is we don't, as a society, we're not on the men like that. It's on the woman like that. Like, I can't find the right words, but your point is very, very, very valid.
With this new law, a person that gives a chick a ride to an abortion clinic will get more time and more consequences than a person who gives another person a ride going to commit a terrorist act.
You know, they got to find ways. I think a lot of people got to forget that about the prison industrial complex. Think about it as a machine. Think about it as a major corporation, even a multinational corporation. They want to make money.
The bond system.
Exactly. It's all connected. That's all part of it. So what I'm saying is they have to make money, right? So they thinking about profits over last year. They, you know, profits this quarter, profits next quarter, bro. It's the corporation. This is a business, right? So
absolutely.
Hey, I need fucking prisoners. I need, you know, I need bodies. That's how I make my money. So they also have lobbyists. You know, they have lobbyists. Lobbyists that help write laws or whatever to help fucking, you know, their bottom line.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a monster. It's a hungry monster. And that monster's going to get fed regardless.
What'd you say, Pat? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, one of the things that's weird to me is that for the longest, the Democrats have been the ones that push the most for this for the pro-choice, and it just so happens that it's a Democratic president that's in office when this actually, you know, really comes to a head where there's severe punishment for something like this. So,
but those aren't his policies.
Yeah, you don't understand, because see,
those things were put in place by Trump. You know what I'm saying? His judges are making these decisions.
Well, this is Texas, so this may not have that much to do with Trump.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, both Abbott and Cruz are Trump's boys.
They were Abbott and Cruz were names before Trump was Trump. Politically.
Right.
Well,
but they didn't have the balls to do what they're doing now.
Well, no, they only tolerated Trump. they tolerated Trump
Yes,
because he
they
was,
used
you
him.
know, yeah, but they not friends, you
Yeah,
know.
they used him. They used him. That's how it goes in politics. So one person uses the other. You know, that's how it goes. So, but the thing is about this with the abortion, nigga, Texas has been trying to push for this forever. Florida too. You know, so that's the thing. Florida and Texas, we are them one of the states, Georgia, who are like that, and it's been like that historically. You know, for a good amount of time, and that don't have nothing to do with Trump. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Um,
in the
Trump
primaries they ran
emboldened.
against each other.
What I'm
Who?
saying is the
Oh,
Trump
go ahead.
era emboldened those who already had these ideas and missions as far as patriarchy and the way
right,
that they wanted society to go. They
right,
were not brave enough
right. And
before Trump.
I kind of agree to a certain extent because, like I say, they used him, and that's why I say his presidency was very, very successful. They got a whole shit ton of. We could talk about education, Betsy DeVos, but anyways, whatever y'all want to talk about, because that'll be a whole thing. Go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna be
yeah.
staying on long because my pups, I got them locked up and they about ready to break free. So
Well,
Okay.
I do want to speak on a little bit of that dynamic just a little bit longer because right now, because of all of the things that, just on the fight between the Democrats and the Republicans, like they're exercising their voice, their rights to, do things, really almost to kind of, like a pissing contest between the two parties, and that's my observation.
So, Lifa, what do you think are the solutions? Because that's what I always want to talk about on my channel. Whenever we bring up a topic, especially something as freaking serious as this, what do you think? What are your solutions?
as far as what's going on with the government and women's bodies, uh, that's going to be a hard battle because as it stands, um, you would think that up until like the late 90s, early mid 2000s, there had been all this progress, but secretly, behind the doors and everything, it was really work to get to where we are now, which is 10 steps back. So in order to even have any change, you got to have some women in those positions, women of color in those positions to make those laws and get those laws passed, because right now it's not going to happen. And the women that we do have that are outspoken and do have a voice and a platform, they're villainized. You know what I'm saying? They're vilified. They're called the squad, in a derogatory manner, and they're always spoken of, in a derogatory manner. In my opinion, if they get to a high enough position, any one of them gets to a high enough position to actually affect change, they're gonna bump them off. She ain't gonna survive. She ain't gonna make it. So, I
Well,
mean,
revolutions are tough, and I think that it's not going to take anything short of that for things to really change. But still, what do you think people should do? Because that sounds, the way you said that, that's like hopeless. Let's just give up.
I feel hopeless personally. You know what I'm saying? My female child feels hopeless. She don't want to have no kids. You know what I mean? Um, I really don't know. I really don't know. There's not going to be this huge women's revolution. You know, um, it's too many dividing factors. It's not enough unity. There's not enough room and allowance for women's unity because they're always pit against each other in every single situation.
But I think that is the problem, looking at it like that, because human rights, bruh. I say Black Lives Matter is human rights. Uh,
I agree.
Homeless people having a roof over their head is human rights.
I agree.
Having health care is human rights. This is how we got to be looking at it. Treating women fairly is human fucking rights.
I get it. I get that. I'm living it. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I'm outside of the scope and I don't understand. I'm on the outside looking in. The thing about it is, where is the help?
LGBTQ rights, human rights. But this is why I make this channel, is because I want to ignite people and educate them like they fire. Because no, ain't nothing. Here's my answer to the question that I asked you that you didn't really answer. Look, I want, the government is not going to change nothing. The squad, like you said, the squad is going to be tied up in red tape. They're not going to be able to get stuff done. And I think a lot of that is controlled opposition anyways. It's image politics. Kamala Harris, all that is image politics. The freaking statue to George Floyd, putting a black woman on a $20 bill. These are image politics. Black people are asking for reparations and they wiggling around that shit. We had Obama as a black president. We thought he was going to do something for black people, but all he did was do something for LGBTQ and send drone strikes all over the world and continue the freaking military industrial complex. What I'm saying is, out of that whole speech, is those people are not going to help us in any real way that's going to really change our lives in our community. We have to think locally. I would say think globally and act locally. So you change the world by changing your community. And we all have power. In the movies, the TV, the video games, everything is making us feel like we don't have no power. That the politics, it's hopeless. You don't have no power. Just fucking keep your head down, go to work, pay your car note, pay taxes, and get on with your life. That's the best you can do. Provide for your family, look out for your friends and family, and that's the best you can do. Try to get some money, save some money. So hopefully you can, hide and duck when shit hits the fucking fan, have some resources. But that is thinking of this whole thing as an individual. We are not individuals, and I scream that on my channel all the time. We have this illusion that we are individuals, but we are community naturally. We're mammals. We travel in packs. We are in groups. We communicate with each other. That's how we control. That's how we dominated the world. Okay. So, but they got us thinking that we acting as an individual and we order everything from Amazon and we just don't worry about nobody. But no, the community. So this is to wrap all this up is, the only way things are going to change is from the grassroots. The only way things are going to change is if people like me and you get pissed off enough to go out there in the real world, not here on the internet, out there actually in the community, trying to build and create programs that actually help people. There's so many problems out there in everybody's community. You can pick one. Everybody pick one problem and just freaking go at that hoe and try to freaking fix it. Don't think that you don't have power. All the community, all the institutions started with somebody fucking starting that hoe. Period. And it might fail. Maybe it will fail, but you learned something. You learned something. You can share that with the rest of the community, what you learned in failing, trying to make something actually literally happen. And then you share that information with someone else, and it keeps on going. We all just keep on learning on how to actually attack these problems and actually literally make true physical, real change in the real world.
I understand that. I definitely understand where you're coming from.
We can't look, indifference, being passive, that is being ignorant. That is the grease for the machine. That's how it keeps going. That's how we all getting rolled over and mashed. That's how they freaking steamroll every last one of us, because individually we don't have no power.
We've had this particular conversation, and you weren't able to keep calm the first time. You're not able to keep calm this time. So
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm not
Yeah.
screaming at you. It's not
he does,
directed at
and he
you.
does have a point. He do have a point, but the I think at the
And
core, having allies, having real allies in places in government is really what's gonna, because a lot of that Cole Kwame Brown, the go along to get along is what's been happening for the most part in politics, regardless of what side you're on. But to actually have people who are really in touch with our problems, we have to push for those people to be in those places so that stuff like this doesn't pop up. Like, I mean, maybe we would have heard about this a couple of weeks ago when it was proposed again, and going into to the court level or whatever. Like,
Right.
that's what really needs to happen. And I mean, even if it starts with us pushing our kids to get more into government, because I know a lot of us are in the jobs we're in, and it's gonna be hard to transition. But those people we that are ready to go into those type of jobs, like, we gotta start putting money behind them. Like, that's one of the big things that is gonna make it move faster, is to find somebody we trust. We put our foot on their neck to make sure that they stay on course, and that's what needs to happen.
We have to fight for it. Being passive is not going to do it. Like, what happened to the unions? We used to have unions. Let me ask you this, Pat. Do you have some kind of trucking union that you could join, or are you a part of some kind of association like that?
Nah, man. They had the union. I think they still have one, but it's like, well, it's that old school one. What's the name?
Teamsters.
What is it?
Teamsters.
The Teamsters. Yeah, they had the Teamsters. I think they still exist, but I mean, I'm not a part of any of that. I'm just a man with a truck trying to make some money.
But being a part
I
of a
gotta go,
union.
Casey. My pups is acting up, so
All right. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your opinions, and I wasn't attacking you. I'm sorry. That's not. I hope
I
you don't take it that
understand.
way. It's just
I
a
feel
passion.
you, but you
It's
know
just
how my shit is set up, like motherfuckers start hollering and shit, and I just be like, okay, time for me to go.
Well, introduce yourself to the people, because it's your first time on the channel.
Yeah. Alifa Perkins, I'm the baby sister. You've seen my big brother Jeff, and Chaka is also my big brother. You've seen my nephew Tariq, and all of my family. But yeah, I'm 42. I'll be 42 this month. I have 2 grown children. My son is in his sophomore year at Houston Baptist University. My daughter's grown and gone in Spokane, Washington. She went to Gonzaga University. I dedicated my whole life to my children, and now that they're gone and they don't need me no more, it's time for me to try to find my own way. And I gotta get a life now, so yeah.
Well, it's good to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you as well, and everybody watching, and all your folk and whatnot. But yeah, now my puppies are my kids, and they're screaming mama. So Barry and mama say you got rid of 2 and got 2 more. And I was like, well, what? I don't know what to do with myself. So that's what it is. But I'll holler at you, bro. We'll get on again. You know what I'm saying?
I really hope you be a regular on the channel. Maybe you can come on and give the female perspective on a lot of the subjects, because I'm always talking about, I'm kind of hard on women. I ain't gonna lie. My Anaya be like, I'm hard on women, but my Instagram is mostly followed by females. Even though I'm hard on women on YouTube, I'm harder on them on Instagram. So, but I love them. I love them. I love my black women.
Baby, I don't follow you on Instagram. I don't want to see that shit. I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. So yeah.
Well, again,
I can't
your perspective would balance what maybe, hopefully, hopefully,
But see, the thing about that is, like I said, when folks start hollering, I'll be ready to go. So
I'll try. I'll get better at that. I'm sorry.
Something else, you need to reach out to D. Rainey, because he been talking about a podcast between him, me, and Quisha for about 3 years now. So reach out to him and give him some pointers, and tell him how to get started or whatnot. I can't instruct. I ain't done it yet. So and like I told you via text, I'm proud of how far you've come with your channel in such a short time. You know what I'm saying? And your consistency. You've definitely been consistent. I've been seeing you, like, every time I open up YouTube, you be like, so big ups, you know what I'm saying? Good looks for sure. keep up the good work, bro.
Thank you so much.
Right.
Somebody noticed. I'll be putting in the grind on this shit.
I definitely noticed, bro. Definitely noticed. So I'm gonna holler at you, you know what I'm saying? Peace
And love, man.
Love you. Nice to meet you, Pat.
Love you too. Talk to you later.
All right, peace.
Yeah. Yeah, bro. My plan is to do show Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday night. That's gonna be the schedule. 10:30-ish, 10 o'clock-ish. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Thursday, Friday. Okay.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And maybe and a bonus show on Saturday night, and maybe a bonus show on Tuesday night. But I really want to stick to that schedule of Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so that I can get my fans to, know when I'm coming on, because I was kind of sporadic for a while and random. So now I'm trying to make a schedule so people can, set the calendar and check me out.
Yeah.
I got a video. Check this out.
Recently, the CIA released a video that was pretty shocking, embracing a radical inclusivity in the agency. It's now known as the woke CIA ad.
I'm a woman of color. I am a mom. I am a cisgender millennial who's been diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. I am intersectional. I refuse to internalize misguided patriarchal ideas of what a woman can or should be. My parents left everything they knew and loved to expose me to opportunities they never had. Because of them, I stand here today a proud first-generation Latina and officer at CIA.
Wow. There's a lot to unpack here. First of all, this looks like a parody of what conservatives depict as what the left is. It's so cartoonishly over the top, it's hard to believe it's real. So what does it all mean? Has the CIA adopted real progressivism and equality? Of course not. This is a good old-fashioned psyop, or psychological operation, to indoctrinate a new generation of teenagers with the idea that the CIA is pretty cool. And no, not because the CIA has been taken over by the left. The political and military establishment know that the young generation is increasingly turning to radical politics. That means things like anti-racism and trans equality in conjunction with anti-capitalism and anti-imperialism. This generation was not indoctrinated by the intense nationalist propaganda of the 9/11 era. It's a generation that grew up with the end stages of the U.S. empire's senseless bloodbaths in Iraq and Afghanistan. It sees the systemic failures of capitalism. That's a big problem for an organization that needs to plan future wars without much resistance and needs to recruit a sector of the population to fill its ranks. To do that, they need a rebrand. They need a new marketing campaign to overshadow their image as purveyors of torture and mass murder of civilians. In other words, they need new propaganda. They need a psyop to brainwash young people who aren't as familiar with the CIA's notoriously murderous history, which is exactly who they are targeting with this ad. In fact, they recently admitted they're recruiting kids right out of high school already. And here's the biggest irony. While the CIA claims to be socially progressive, they're only talking about how they treat their own. Throughout the CIA's entire history, and until this very day, They've done nothing but actually attack and overthrow governments that are advancing social progress by installing or backing reactionary governments that use extreme violence to smash women, indigenous peoples, and other marginalized groups. The agency gives power to governments that behead women for adultery or jails people for being gay. It supports neo-Nazis in Ukraine, fascists in Bolivia, and so many more examples. The CIA spends a lot of its time propping up regimes that would jail or murder that young woman in the woke CIA ad. This is nothing more than an attempt to sanitize and whitewash its own horrific legacy and daily operations. Many other mass murdering entities have done the same thing. Defense contractors touting their first female drone pilots, Israel effectively pinkwashing its genocidal apartheid state, and oil corporations greenwashing their pollution. This does not mean that environmentalism or gay liberation should be abandoned as modes of struggle. Things like trans liberation and immigrant rights are major, deeply felt issues in our society, which activists have been doing such important and meaningful work to highlight. The co-optation by imperialism isn't the fault of these movements, but rather speaks to their success in bringing these important issues to the mainstream. The woke CIA ad is just another co-optation of these ideas to defang their revolutionary potential. The strain of identity politics embraced by liberals is hollow and self-serving because they have no ideological worldview to underpin them. This is why corporations have seized on the current of Black Lives Matter to say they're on board, profiting off of liberals who feel good purchasing products from companies who claim to support the struggle. Meanwhile, they're just steering it towards what's best for capitalism, claiming that things like fulfilling diversity quotas is the solution, instead of the radical systemic change the movement is calling for. The new CIA ads are part of a larger propaganda campaign called Humans of the CIA, to give that warm, fuzzy image of the agency. Beyond recruitment, though, they want this generation to see the CIA as woke, and those who've run with the analysis that the deep state has been taken over by the so-called cultural left have unwittingly become part of the psyop. This particular ad is targeting young liberals, but it would be absurd to think the CIA isn't also continuing to hire Americans who are right-wing. Some of their favorite recruiting pools are the Mormon Church and counterterrorism majors. Look, the CIA is guided by one ideology and one ideology alone: the belief that U.S. capitalism and imperialism should have global supremacy. Sure, the CIA is happy to recruit trans people, just like they're happy to recruit anti-trans people, as long as they ascribe to the orthodoxy that the U.S. should do anything and everything, no matter how brutal, to make sure it rules the world. If you think about it, this is what neoliberalism has already been for decades: adopting the language of human rights to convince people that imperialism is good. Wars on Yugoslavia, Iraq, Libya were all about helping people and fighting racism. What we're seeing is a very new, very concerted effort to drape imperialism with an image that reflects the surge of progressive ideas. The Biden administration is wokeness on steroids, the promotion of women to four-star generals, the first Black Secretary of Defense, all imperial heads that oversee mass killing. It's all a superficial distraction from the fact that there's no real policy in place that improves the material lives of this generation. Unfortunately, the knee-jerk reaction to this advertisement is to punch left. And really, when you think about it, that's what the design of every good CIA psyop intends to do.
Whoa. Whoa.
That was some heavy stuff, man. And I mean, when you really get to the core of it, I mean, when you see an ad, I mean, they're trying to suck you in, and they are targeting a certain demographics. So it's like, especially if they're already trying to get people out of high school, like they're trying to get impressionable people, people who don't necessarily have a firm grounding on, they don't know thyself yet, or the world, or all these different things, and you can easily be swayed to, find the good in evil. You know what I'm saying? If we gonna, can use those terms, like to manipulate a person's, you know, what they would normally, their free will, something they would normally do. So a lot of this, because I mean, man, it really is deep because, like, this woman, she's a person of color, in the shadow, then of course comes out as Latino or whatever. It's so that was a psyop just in itself. The
The
commercial,
image.
yeah. So,
You sound like me now.
because I'm still, like, a lot of it is still, like, I'm just so,
Processing.
yeah.
And that's like I say, you sound like me now. I'll be on this channel and I just be yelling and then I just be out of breath and I just be like, because like your brain, it makes you tired too, right? Thinking heavy on this stuff, and I think that's the reason why, they got us all set up to get the sensations, those little 15-second stuff, like, the video games, little things, just all, like, when people say it's a distraction, bro. Like, it's like everything is a distraction, like, literally. You know what I mean?
Take
From
you
us.
off your square. It's all meant to take you off your square, and man, it's not this that like it's not fair. Really, like, I mean, they're playing dirty, and I can see how it could be very appealing to somebody, especially if they're like, anybody that like thought about being a cop, like that was one of their things. They said, oh, whoa, dang, I can get into the CIA, and they don't like. Man, I have a friend, that, I mean, I still consider him a friend who I grew up with, that out of the military ended up in the CIA, and he don't see his family at all no more. Like, I don't, like, he I think has started just on his own limiting his contact with people outside of that organization. So I I know how, I mean, and you would think that, I mean, at his age he had a strong mindset, but he had already went through a lot of indoctrination being in the military. You know what I'm saying? You know, I'm proud of those service members that come out and they're like, oh man, like, they're able to like kind of debrief and breathe and whatever. But
Well, a lot of those people, they're really smart people, and we've all been programmed. You know what I'm saying? Literally every last one of us.
Of course.
And yeah,
Oh,
so,
yeah.
and like I say, there are a lot of really smart people, but sometimes you kind of just get caught up. It's how you kind of get caught up in a gang or caught up in a group, and then it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to separate yourself from it, no matter what knowledge that you have come across during your time. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, like, and also like career paths and so forth and so on, because you can use this as stepping stools to get places to do things that you want to do. And sometimes you gotta, what I feel, the truth is, like, for you to do any good, like great good in the world, you have to do some evil. Like, wait a minute, you listen to Campana. That's where I got that from. One of his older song. He said that in one of his songs. I can't remember the lyric right now, but it made me think really heavy. I thought about it for a long time. And then, so, like, because I'm heavy into politics, and if you look at history and you look at like the people, historical figures, and like people who have done really great stuff, all of them did some fucking horrible stuff too. And it's like, the thing is, I think, because you have to go through levels, right? So for you to get promoted through a certain level, you're gonna have to have done some kind of horrible shit. You know what I
Well,
mean?
but the only thing about that, I mean, we're all human. I mean, none of us is 100% good. I can't say that we're all 100% bad either. But at the same time, I mean, once you get to a certain level, crossing back over to be majority good is gonna be a task.
And
Like,
that's
I
the
mean,
trick. And that's the trick, because what they say, a man who goes insane and then comes back as a wise man, some shit like that. I'm saying everything all backwards, but I'm sure the people out there, somebody knows what I'm talking about. So, but I think that's what it is too. Like, and then like in the comics, right? Because in the comics, the bad guy, mad scientist, he's an old guy, and then it's like, but he maybe have superpowers, but when he was younger he was probably the superhero, but he got older and now he uses his powers for evil and shit. You know what I'm saying? So, but if he keeps going down in his path, then maybe he'll could possibly make it back, because I think what happens is people lose faith in humanity. We lose hope. The people who have great power, we're looking at humanity, and then it's like, should I help them or should I control them? You know what I mean? Should I open a church or should I tell people not to go to church? You know what I'm saying?
yeah. I mean, I guess it's because I mean, even our superheroes have their dark side. Um, Superman had his dark side, Batman had his dark side, Spider-Man, like all of us has that there, but what we practice the most is what's gonna linger longer. So it's to me, it's kind of like, and this is just for
It's
me. I mean,
dangerous.
everybody,
It's
yeah.
it's
I mean,
it's super dangerous. So it's like dabbling. Because the other side, like let's say you're a destructive person and you want to just destroy stuff, but then you dabble in good, and then you might get addicted to that, So it's dangerous on both sides. It's dangerous. But that's what power is. Power is dangerous.
it really is. You have to balance because, like, like I don't know if this is truly like this a sweet spot, but like you have to make that balancing act, because at any moment, any one of us can, just choose to do, good or bad, and I guess you.
Oh man, I lost him. It's probably because he's driving. He was probably driving through a bad little area. I'm gonna roll into this because I wanted to talk about this anyway. So, man, I hope I don't get in trouble for this.
Some people appear to have known the imminent future on that fateful day. FEMA had arrived in New York on Monday night, ready for a bioterror drill. Spokesman Tom Kenny to Dan Rather.
To be honest with you, we arrived on late Monday night and went into action on Tuesday morning. And not until today did we get a full opportunity to work the entire site other than the spot at Church and Day to which we were deployed.
And Rudy Giuliani, mayor of New York, tells ABC's Peter Jennings that he was aware the towers would be coming down.
What is going on now is a massive rescue effort.
Do you believe it's hundreds or thousands?
I really don't. I really don't want to say right now, Peter. I think it's going to be a horrible number. I saw people jumping out of the World Trade Center. I saw some of the firefighters who I know going into the building. And we were in a building in which we were trapped for about 10, 15 minutes. And we set up headquarters at 75 Barclay Street, which was right there with the police commissioner, the fire commissioner, the head of emergency management. And we were operating out of there when we were told that the World Trade Center was going to collapse. The World Trade Center was going to collapse. It was going to collapse. It was going to collapse.
Similarly, Larry Silverstein, new leaseholder of the World Trade Center, regretfully declared that a decision was made to pull Building 7 by the end of the day. the last structure added to the World Trade Center complex. Let's hear Mr. Silverstein's actual words, delivered for our benefit in the 2002 PBS documentary America Rebuilds.
I remember getting a call from the fire department commander telling me that they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. And I said, you know, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building collapse.
Blast, shoot, blow, and pull are terms used in the demolition industry to refer to bringing down buildings, bridges, and other structures.
Because I actually blew the hospital down that I was born in.
Originally, we had figured to shoot it, let it drop straight down.
Then, watch Demolition Dynamics attempt a big blast.
And from Ground Zero's own post-disaster wrecking crew.
By mid-December, the Department of Design and Construction had leveled World Trade Center buildings 4 and 5.
Hello? Oh, we're getting ready to pull building 6.
Silverstein, a commercial real estate tycoon with international political connections, acquired a 99-year lease on the World Trade Center complex in the spring of 2001. Throughout the summer, he reworked the insurance policies on his new property, making sure that it was covered for acts of terrorism. Explicit in the lease agreement was Silverstein's right to rebuild the complex if it were destroyed. After 9/11, Mr. Silverstein fought his insurers in court to obtain double his policy limits for the destruction of his property, maintaining that the double hijacking constituted 2 disasters caused by terrorists, not just one. He won and was awarded over $7 billion, a magnificent return on his original $15 million investment.
My first reaction is to think about the families of those people, the tragedy, the magnitude of it. However, I firmly believe that we should rebuild.
Just in the last few seconds, another building, building number 7, one of the buildings in support of the World Trade Center towers, has collapsed.
World Trade 7, functioning as the command center for the complex, housed giant diesel backup and oxygen systems, the mayor's protected emergency bunker, and offices for the CIA, Secret Service, Department of Defense, and Securities and Exchange Commission. Its other tenants were insurance companies, brokerages, and banks. No plane hit Building 7, but at 5:20 p.m. on September 11th, it collapsed in a heap on the ground. Some damage to Building 7 is said to have been caused by debris from Tower 1. Though this New York Times article tells us Building 7 burned like a giant torch, the only visuals that exist are of unidentified smoke and a few small fires. Compare this to the wallops sustained by World Trade Center 3, 4, 5, and 6. Positioned right below the towers, damage to the surrounding World Trade Center buildings was infinitely worse. Still, the structures held up. But somehow, rescue workers knew that Building 7 would fall.
You hear that? Keep your eye on that building. It'll be coming down soon.
A 47-story skyscraper, Building 7 folded neatly in 6.5 seconds, a textbook descent right into its footprint. Silverstein Properties now tells us that its owner was referring to the team of firefighters inside the building when he spoke of the decision to pulling the firemen out of harm's way. However, there were no firefighters in Building 7, according to FEMA, NIST, and Fire Chief Frank Fellini. They were ordered out at 11:30 that morning. 6 hours later, the building came down.
You know, we heard this sound that sounded like a clap of thunder,
turned around. It looked like there was a shock wave ripping through the building, and the windows all busted out. And it was horrifying. About a second later, the bottom floor caves out, and the building followed after that.
Radio host Alex Jones notes the mark of a classic implosion.
This is a photo taken 1 second into Building 7's collapse. Notice the crimp. If we look at other controlled demolitions, we see that they first blow one of the central columns so the building falls in on itself. If you don't do this, the building falls outward and can damage surrounding structures. Building 7 had a classic crimp or wedge. Its central column was blown out first, so it didn't structurally damage buildings just a few feet away from it.
Remember the mayor's emergency bunker? Ensconced on the 23rd floor of Building 7, it was retrofitted with superglass, water, oxygen, and its own generator. But Mayor Giuliani chose to find emergency shelter elsewhere on September 11th. Why Building 7? Even the media and its experts were confused. The History Channel interviews structural engineer Ramon Gilsans, who points out the obvious crimp and even speaks of the implosion.
Engineers are not just focusing on the Twin Towers. The most disturbing structural event was not that the Twin Towers fell, but that Tower 7, ignited by flying debris, fell due to fire alone.
Building 7 was a steel frame building, and is the first steel frame building that has collapsed due to fire. The failure of the building was an implosion. It failed completely different than Towers 1 and 2, in which the floors failed first.
Why Building 7? Let's ask the question again. As the WTC Command Center, was it the hub for the 9/11 plan? Also, in 6.5 seconds, lost forever were thousands of SEC case files on corporate fraud, including those relating to the notorious activities of giants WorldCom and Enron. A few indictments for stock fraud, but what of the $70 billion California electricity swindle? It disappeared.
Hey, you there?
Yeah, man.
I got you on 2. I'm gonna remove 1. I don't know. Hold on, let me see. Okay, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, cool. Yeah, so that's relevant because the whole one of the reasons we ended up in Afghanistan was because of the stuff that happened, right? And the buildings, and it was extra dramatic with all the buildings coming down and so many people died. So, I mean, I want to be a little careful, but being careful, what do you think about that?
Well, for whatever reason, I didn't get to hear everything that the lady was saying, but from what I understand, it's already been a lot of proof in places that it was not an accident. I don't know really how to really talk about this without
Yeah, this is a touchy one right here. So we have to be careful because they'll come at me on this one. I don't know if I'm gonna even get away with that video I just played.
Wow. Yeah, I guess like I said, I'm not really hearing everything. It's gonna be kind of hard for me to really touch on the actual video.
Well,
'Cause,
basically,
I saw
Building 7, the Twin Towers came down, but Building 7 came down, and Building 7 is the weirdest one. It's the weirdest scenario. It's like
what was being occupied in that building?
That was it was law enforcement, CIA, mortgage brokers. It was a secure ass building. It was a freaking like a FBI building, police type building. government type building.
Yeah, records, information.
Stuff like that, exactly.
Yeah, I mean that's I heard her mention you know the what's the guy over in he's in Texas or so I think he's in Austin. The conspiracy theorist that they call him. Um,
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones. I heard him mention him and some of the things that he said on his network or whatever. And I think, years ago I may have heard him even say some of that stuff because I listen, you know, but it's I don't think it's like that big of a secret. I mean, it's for those who at least paid any attention to any of it during it when it happened
I
because
think yeah, because but we're older though. We was around because like I think because the internet was think about this. The internet was kind of new back then, right?
yeah, especially like well really yeah, it was very new because I mean especially like getting a lot of this information shoot what YouTube is what maybe 2005 and it wasn't even popular yet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So but so because of that, the internet being kind of new, it was so many videos and shit about this shit when it happened for us because we went through it. It was so much stuff on the internet
Clutter.
about.
Yeah, a bunch of clutter.
Yeah, but you also had. I watched a lot. I went down that rabbit hole years ago. I watched a lot of the footage, because it was a lot of footage. People were randomly, you know, taking camera shots and video when it happened. Because this is in New York. It's a fucking billion. I don't know how many people I'm saying a billion. It was a bunch of damn people.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of videos that are just people shooting their home videos or whatever the hell. And those are evidence. You know what I mean? That's not people making up stories. You know what I mean? Because you could go back and look at that footage, but they've cleaned up that shit though. That you
Yeah.
probably have a really hard time finding those videos now
Well, anybody
online.
that would anybody that was willing to talk because even they call Alex Jones a conspiracy theorist. A lot of I mean, if you talking with a lot of certainty, and it matches with the real information, you get silenced in one way or another. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to something as big as that going on.
And remember the political atmosphere at the time because George W. Bush had won the election against Al Gore, and it came down to Florida, right? It all came down to Florida, depending on which way Florida
Where
went.
his brother
And just so happened, his brother was the governor of that state at the time. And um, it came down to a suit that went to the Supreme Court that came down to a 5-4 decision, 5 conservative, 4 liberal, and they stopped the recount in Florida and basically gave the election over to George W. And George W., I think it was like the first time, it was the first time in a long time at least that somebody with like had lost the
the
popular vote
popular.
and won with the electoral college.
Well,
And
that's happened
and
quite a few times.
but people was mad about this. I remember because I was there. It was a big deal.
Yeah.
They was protesting on the Capitol. You know what I'm saying? They was protesting at the White House. You know, He wasn't a
Hmm.
popular president at this time. His ratings were super low.
Yeah.
And
Well, I mean,
who knows
yeah,
what would
that.
have happened. So this is about a year into his presidency, less than a year. And then this thing happens.
Hmm.
And his approval rating goes up. People love how leadership he was, and he ends up getting a second term out of it. Pretty
Yeah.
much off the muscle of 9/11. That's
Well.
why Rudy Giuliani is so popular pretty much to this day, because even though his popularity has gone down dramatically, people still got a heart for Giuliani, and it's because of his leadership during the time of 9/11.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's just recent. I mean, of course, he was dealt with the issues with stop and frisk and
Yeah,
uh
so that's what I mean. His popularity is not the
more
same.
s- more so recently with the whole Trump support,
Yeah,
like him supporting Trump and
yeah,
becoming his lawyer through all
yeah.
the different, yeah.
He
But
just looked like a damn lapdog to everybody, and Trump sold his ass out too. Trump sold
well,
everybody out.
yeah, well, I'm gonna tell you, man, I'm not one of those that, of course I recognize because it exists, the two different parties, but you know, I I still look at the whole bird. Those two wings you can
Me
talk
too.
about. So it's when there is an agenda and
The
what
whole bird is working together for it.
yeah, whatever they have decided is gonna, you know, work for the bird is what happens, no matter what side of the aisle you on.
And the more I've been into politics, I realize what I've realized not that long ago is that it seems like the Democrats get paid to lose. It's a lot of money on that side. It's a whole
I
bunch of money on that side,
You said
and
get paid to lose.
paid to lose, bro.
You have to kind of
It would
I'm not
it would take me a lot to explain that. It would take me a lot to
okay.
explain that because it would take intricate political knowledge. But that I just wanted to drop that nugget for anybody out there to dig around with that because that's
Well,
the conclusion that I've come to.
I mean, because I'm gathering somewhat what you're saying, but at the same time, we're gonna have to, define and maybe even redefine what loss is because, you know, if
Well,
under
they
the
winning
table, if
still. They
if
winning. They
behind,
definitely
yeah,
winning.
if behind closed doors, they made a deal to,
Yeah, they
to
winning.
ride
And
it out.
And that's
Yeah.
what I mean. Their side is winning like a motherfucker when it comes to that because a lot of them on that side, they're really just in it for money. It's a whole bunch of money over there. So
Yes.
whether they win the election or lose, they might rather lose the election because it might work out better in their favor.
Well, for all of them in office, their party is capitalism. That's their religion. That's their their lifestyle. So I mean, regardless of what they promote to the people, you know, behind closed doors, it's all all no holds barred. So
It's so heavy
I
because, like, what I want to give you an example of kind of what I was saying is Al Gore because that's what made me think about it because Al Gore lost against Bush, but he went on to do that climate stuff,
yeah.
and this nigga got so much money for those speeches. He was on that shit early. Now it's like really like everybody is on that shit. You got Greta Thunberg or whatever, the little young chick,
Hmm.
and everybody's on that now. But he was on that way back then, that climate change stuff. And they paid him so much money to do his speeches, man. This dude, his
Millions
career
of dollars, millions
blowed
of
up.
dollars for one speech.
After losing the election, he blowed the fuck up doing TED Talks and shit.
Yeah, I watched it. I saw a lot of that stuff, you know. But man, yeah, that's a lot to that. But
That's that
like I said,
controlled opposition shit.
yeah,
It's scary.
I don't want to get your page tampered with. But
I know. I'm gonna play something else a little controversial. Here we go. But this is not as bad as that what I just played. I'm scared as fuck for playing that shit. I ain't playing no more shit like that. But this on the edge too, kind of. Here, check this out. This is gonna be some more of old girl, the girl who was talking earlier. She really understands politics really well. I'm trying to think of her name. I wish I can plug it right now. I can't. I used to watch. I can think of the name of the shows she's done historically. She gets kicked off of every damn show she does because she be going in, bro. So she does her own thing now.
Saturday Night Live is under fire for a joke on their program on February 20th, where comedian Michael Che stated, quote, Israel is reporting that they vaccinated half of their population. I'm going to guess it's the Jewish half. Predictably, there have been swift condemnations demanding an apology and retraction for the statement. Former Israeli military spokesperson Avi Meir tweeted, It's all fun and games until you start promoting anti-Semitic myths. NBC SNL, apologize. Eli Kohanim, the official State Department envoy to combat anti-Semitism, called the joke modern-day blood libel against Jews. Making this about anti-Semitism is an attempt to deflect from the real punchline, that Israel is a human rights violator with criminally unequal treatment for Palestinians. This is an indisputable and well-documented fact. Yet in the American media landscape, even a reference to it is considered unacceptable. But if critics really want to make it about the accuracy of the claim about vaccine distribution, that's worth looking at too. Israel is making headlines for rapidly rolling out the vaccine for its 9 million citizens, about 1.5 million of whom are Palestinians with Israeli citizenship. According to reports, they are receiving the vaccine at the same rate that Jewish Israelis are receiving it. That's great, but that's not the real story here. See, U.S. and Israeli politicians like to pretend that the only Palestinians that matter are the ones living within Israel's 1948 borders, and that the 5 million Palestinians living in the West Bank and Gaza are not their problem. It's a deliberate concealing of the situation, that all of Palestine is under brutal Israeli military occupation or blockade. If you properly include that population, SNL's 50% reference is actually quite accurate. Under international law, Israel is responsible for the occupied Palestinian population. According to the Fourth Geneva Convention, quote, medical supplies of the occupied population, including adoption and application of the prophylactic and preventative measures necessary to combat the spread of contagious diseases and epidemics to the fullest extent of the means available to it. Israel's health minister recently scoffed at this legal obligation, making his own joke, which oddly didn't receive any backlash, stating that Israel has no more obligation to vaccinate Palestinians than the Palestinian Minister of Health has to take care of dolphins in the Mediterranean. So far, Israel has only authorized a few thousand vaccinations to the West Bank's population of 3 million. Meanwhile, Israeli settlers living illegally in the West Bank are receiving the vaccination at a rapid rate. And the same goes for Gaza, which is under strict Israeli military blockade. Anything that goes in and out of Gaza is dependent on Israeli approval. There, Israel approved only a minuscule 2,000 vaccines for a population of 2 million. But as of February 16th, was withholding the shipment and using it as blackmail, telling the elected government that if they did not make major political concessions, they wouldn't get the shipment. Of course, this is a form of collective punishment on innocent Palestinians, which is also a war crime under the Geneva Convention. And this doesn't even address the overall reality of medical apartheid imposed by Israel, doing things like denying life-saving medical equipment to be shipped into Gaza and denying permits for West Bank residents to travel for crucial treatment. Both the cruel, genocidal blockade on Gaza and the hyper-violent Israeli military dictatorship imposed on the West Bank are off-limit topics for mass media like NBC. And apparently, so is any reference to any fact-based inequality. So while there is a huge uproar over a 7-second joke on SNL, there is no outcry over the fact that Israel is denying millions of people basic human rights under an illegal occupation, including denying them the vaccine. Look, the real joke here is how this extremely obvious reality is taboo, and calling any attention to it is subject to a massive pressure campaign, when the real pressure campaign should be against apartheid, not those calling attention to it.
Hey, you there?
Yeah, man, I'm not really sure why it plays like that for me. When you playing those videos, it's very choppy, and I mean it could be because sometimes does it when I'm even sitting still, but
Oh, I
yeah,
hope it's
right
not
now.
like that for the people out there.
No, usually when I'm playing back, it plays clear, but
Mm.
yeah, during the video, but I guess based on some of what I did here, um, this was kind of I don't know, was it supposed to be the current type of jab that were denying the Palestinians, or is
Yeah,
this?
yeah, yeah. They're not giving it to them. They haven't so far. I mean, I think they've given some, but very few. They're on the news. What you hear on the news is that all the Palestinians are but those are the ones that are within Israel, because that's the thing. A lot of people don't understand the whole thing. It's really complicated, but because you got Palestinians that live within the borders of Israel, and then you got Palestinians that live outside the border. So the ones outside of the border are very few of them have been vaccinated.
And they want it.
Yeah, they want it. They want the shot. They want the jab.
Okay. Um, and I also saw something where Russia blocks some from where, from going into Israel or going to Palestine.
Probably from going into Palestine. I don't know. I missed that part. I ain't gonna lie. I missed that. I didn't hear that. I probably daydreamed on that part when she was talking. Zoned out for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah. I should have another person joining. Somebody text me. I should have another person joining. Let's talk about damn, but you don't be able to hear the damn videos. I got this one about these men who died after taking the jab in Japan. But they said it was a fault. It was a tainted batch of jabs. I don't think it's long. Let me see.
2 men in their 30s have died in Japan, days after getting their second doses of the Moderna COVID vaccine. The Japanese Health Ministry has launched an investigation. Moderna and Takeda Pharmaceutical, the local distributor of the jab, have said there's no indication so far that the deaths were caused by the shot.
We do not have any evidence that these deaths are caused by the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine, and it is important to conduct a formal investigation to determine whether there is any connection.
On Sunday, the Okinawa region suspended the use of the Moderna vaccine after some batches were found to have contaminants. The 2 men that died received shots from a tainted batch. The Japanese authorities had already stopped the rollout of an estimated 1.6 million doses feared to be from the contaminated batch. They'd been delivered to more than 800 centres around the country. The government said the move was just a precaution and it's launched a probe. We've contacted Moderna for comment. Senior clinical lecturer Barrett Pankanir says it's vital to establish as quickly as possible whether there's a link between the deaths and the tainted shots.
So I think the Japanese people are referring to a batch that may not be 100% clear, but that doesn't mean it was an unsafe batch. And what I mean by clear is there are some reports that in the vials and in the empty bottle after giving the injections, they noticed something that shouldn't be there, some contaminant, and it looks like a manufacturing contaminant. But I must emphasize that it doesn't therefore translate that the vaccines caused the deaths of those two Japanese people, although it is, of course, very unfortunate to hear that soon after getting the vaccine, 2 people have died. We need to investigate this and find out if there is a relationship. I don't think there is a relationship, but we should investigate. With the millions of doses of the vaccines now given, we know that it successfully protects you against ending up on the ventilator and dying. So if I were a choosing man, I would choose vaccines at any time, every time.
At any time, every time.
They what?
He said I'll accept the vaccine at any time, every time.
Yeah, I missed that. Because I heard the part about the being in Japan and I don't know. I hate that it's doing that.
But what do you think about, they were saying the 2 guys, well, being carefully, let's carefully talk about this. The 2 guys got the jab in Japan, and they don't know if it had to do with it. They're saying there was some contaminants in it. But that, overall is safe. It was the Moderna jab, and it was in Japan. And it was soon after they got the jab, these guys passed away. And they're like, we have to investigate. Don't freak out. Don't think it was connected to the jab, because we don't know that that's what happened.
Well, yeah, it seems like that's the going thing, no matter where you are. They have the position to be able to guide the narrative in whatever direction they want to. So, it must have been some prominent people, I guess, huh?
I don't think so. I think it were just regular Joes. It's just that when something like that happens, it catches fire. So they have to stomp it out. They have to react to it, because if they don't, it's already, social media. Them niggas got the internet over there too.
Yeah.
So they gonna find out. People always find out when shit like that happens. And they're gonna get on the internet and they're gonna make freaking videos. So then the official people gotta come out and be like, hey, y'all calm down, calm down, calm down.
Well, and that's kind of, I guess, kind of goes along with something I saw earlier today about, one of our favorite stars that's now gone. Nobody seemed to mention that, 2 days prior to them, at least on their way out of here, that they had got the jab. So, you know, but I don't know. Honestly, like we all know that they're lying because of just. I mean, if you really piece it together, you just start tying different things together, you can see clearly that they're lying regularly about different things, just to, I guess, keep the public alarm down. Um, you know,
Keep everybody in fear.
Well, I think it's more so I think they're trying to mostly keep the trust as much as they can. Like the people that they do that, has taken it or potentially like wants to, like to keep them from changing their mind, or what I'm saying, reverse their view of it. So instead of truly being honest about it, because if they were truly honest about every little thing, if it was truly transparent, like people would have changed their mind a long time ago. Like there's a bunch of people pissed off now, because of information and you know that they're getting, what they're understanding more about it now. So I don't expect it to be much different, whether it's here or on the other side of the planet.
Misinformation to help control people so that you can get them to do the stuff you want them to do, basically, so the big corporations can come in and take all the resources and leave the people with shit. Leave them with trinkets. I like to say people like shiny things, and it's kind of like that when they teach you about history. It's really not true about them coming over and giving the Indians, Native Americans beads, but then too it is kind of true, because the thing is, we like shiny fucking things. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. So that's what I say. While they're taking all the resources, the stuff that really does have value, they give us little shiny things. And when I
Well,
say shiny things, it's like your cell phone, your watch, your new Mercedes Benz, that loft apartment.
yeah, I think really, like, if we're talking about past events, a lot of it, like, we had the shiny things that they wanted, and uh, whether because of course the trade
That's
systems.
that's the history. I'm talking about with the way things, I'm talking about once the, what I'm talking about. After colonization is what I'm talking about.
Oh,
Before colonization, of course, and that's what I'm saying. It's still like that now. These corporations are going to the native peoples and taking the resources. The people don't even know that they have, really, half the time.
hmm
Let me hit this transition thing. I want to do this. I want to do this I want to do this every hour when we like changing subjects and shit to kind of help people trying to steal my shit or whatever. Anyway. Yeah, King Chuck Entertainment. We want you to be an activist. Yeah, yeah. Anyways, I want to be really careful with that subject. So, how you been feeling? How you feel, man?
I
What's on
feel
your mind?
good.
What's been on your heart?
Um, well, I don't know. I guess I don't know. I guess there's so much going on. It's kind of hard to really pick, but I guess the looming war, the potential war that's we're seeing, or the possibilities of war. So I mean,
It's funny that you
I
say that because that's the next segment. The next segment is about that. That's what I'm finna talk about. Yep.
okay, yeah, man.
Because it's like they don't want to leave. They don't. But you know what? Good news. We did leave, and the Taliban took over the airport, so it's no
it's
more
done.
movement. It's no more movement to or fro from that airport.
Yeah,
So unless it's approved by the Taliban.
yeah.
So, and they're trying to build a legitimate government, and but like I say, this a powder keg, so who the hell knows? But if the US just kind of, leaves them alone and let them deal with the drama that they have to deal with, like The Taliban probably gonna have to fight some people, a little bit. But again, that's their bit. That's all. That's their bit. That's Afghanistan people's business, man. That's
Yep.
not our business. We got stuff we need to deal with here in the United States, and those resources can be used here for all kinds of stuff instead of being used over there to try to help those people who don't even really want us over there.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been seeing a lot of, pissed off people because, I mean, there's some people that I guess glad to see that it's coming to an end, there's, at the end of all of that. But there's others that's like, I mean, extremely pissed with it. They like crying angry. Um, so I don't know. I mean, leaving some Americans. I mean, do we know they wanted to? Maybe they wanted to stay, or I don't know. But I heard your boy Biden say something about they got 95%, 90 or 95% of the people out of there that wanted to come. So
Well, of course they would say that, but they did get a lot of people out.
yeah, of course, some of the Afghans as well,
Yeah,
which I think already are already setting up somewhere in Texas.
right. We got them here in Houston, a whole bunch of them.
Wow.
Yeah,
And they're getting reparations.
yeah. They give them. But the thing is though, they need to, if they come, they need, if they just let the people just drop them here, that would be a problem. That's a thing that needs to be done. People, and then again, we do have a lot of fault in the situation.
We
United
who?
States,
We who?
we as in
Uh,
the United States,
the
you know,
government.
the
Yeah.
government. So, but the thing is, we pay taxes. They use those taxes, and also they represent us in the world stage, regardless of where
Uh,
we stand. uh the people in the other countries see us as Americans. We're Americans, all of
yeah.
us.
Yeah. No, I get it. I mean, I understand all of that. But like one of the things that I guess I'm concerned about is that there's people that come from different places that end up being adverse to our kind of people. They come from somewhere else, and then you know they have somehow put themselves on a pedestal above a bunch of
I
people.
get it.
And
I get it. It's always a bunch of animosity towards, immigrants and especially refugees, because refugees tend to be, distressed people. So that's the thing though. People they're the others too. And then, so then they end up
well,
being oppressed. It happens all over the world. They are treated, unfairly. So I have a
well,
sympathy for homeless people, and I have a sympathy for refugees, no matter where they come from, because
well,
they're, you know,
no, I mean, because I don't actually have a problem with them, but my thing is, I'm just hoping that we don't see that, this is another immigrant group that comes in and tries to, you know, join in on the stepping on black people. You know what I'm saying? That's the part that, I have a concern for. Like, if they're coming here and being peaceful with everybody, hey, you won't hear another word from me about it. But, for whatever reason, I feel that, um, especially these, a lot of Democrats, and, I beat up on them a lot, but this Biden guy, he wants somebody that's going to be able to take their place. Like, there was a whole conversation that he had with um, some of what we consider black leaders on. I know you heard that videotape, right? Or that sound clip of him talking to the black leader saying that they didn't, African Americans weren't
Oh
the,
yeah,
weren't
yeah.
the only problem. You know what I'm saying? So he's looking for groups of people that will come here and be oppressive to us.
I don't know about that. I mean, I think, like I say, I think that people always see the refugees and immigrants as the others, and kind of just like want to scapegoat them all the time for their problems. I think that's what happens.
Well,
I think
I
that
mean,
just
I'm not usually the one that gets affected by it personally, but because of my love and my care for my people first, is how they'll be treated. Like I don't usually feel it personally, but I feel it through my people. A lot of the things that they go through with some of these groups, and you know, like
but I think it goes back to what you were saying in the other video. We have to build institutions we have to build power. We can't be waiting for the government. We got to build something that looks out for our people. That's how we got
yeah,
to do it. Period.
yeah, that's the biggest solution. But with them, with the majority not even looking in the direction of doing that, because I mean, like I said, there's things in place already. The like I said, even if they wanted to start their own, like there's people that can help them form it, but shoot, you barely can, really get them to really focus together, unite. Like a lot of people don't even see how it's beneficial, to do it. Like, why do it? Oh well, and already feel defeated because, well, shoot, you know how they are and this and that. Well, I know you've heard the talks and stuff before. So a lot of them already feel defeated. So I don't know. I guess I mean, we'll see. It is what it is, and I guess we'll have to deal with it for what it is.
Yeah. Let me play a little bit. I don't think this is long, but we was talking about in the other video about ISIS and ISIS-K, and remember that those were the ones who did the suicide bombing. And then did y'all see? I don't know if I put a clip on here about it, but they hit, they drone struck, and it was a freaking family in a van or whatever, but they said that they had some explosives in it. So I don't know about that. I think, and then there was another car that they blew up, and it was people in it. So at least one of those cars, I think, was packing like a suicide bomber or something, and they were like on their way, I think, to the airport or something. But I think one of them was wrong. Was the wrong people. Like they had a cell phone of someone who was a bad guy, and he wasn't even in the car. Maybe he was in the back seat or something like that. It was a whole family. So, anyways, ISIS. Let me play this.
Just to our ISIS-K. ISIS-K, otherwise known as the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, Khorasan province. As the name suggests, they are an ISIS offshoot mainly based in Afghanistan. The Khorasan province in their name relates to the areas they target for control, which encompasses parts of modern-day Iran, Central Asia, Afghanistan and Pakistan. One thing to know is that the Taliban and ISIS-K are not friends and could be considered regional foes due to differing ideologies and bitter competition for territory. In the eyes of ISIS-K, the Taliban are far too moderate. The real concern now is that the group may be planning attacks on the area around Kabul airport as chaotic evacuation efforts continue. On Tuesday, US President Joe Biden said the following:
"The longer we stay, starting with the acute and growing risk of an attack by a terrorist group known as ISIS-K, an ISIS affiliate in Afghanistan, which is a sworn enemy of the Taliban as well. Every day we're on the ground is another day we know that ISIS-K is seeking to target the airport and attack both U.S. and allied forces and innocent civilians.
US intelligence officials are even said to have reported that some of ISIS-K's recruits are Taliban defectors, while there have been unconfirmed reports of the Taliban executing at least one senior ISIS-K figure since taking over Afghanistan. The group was led by former Taliban Pakistan militant Hafiz Saeed Khan, with former Afghan Taliban commander Abdul Rauf Aliza appointed as deputy leader. One was killed in a US drone strike in February 2015, while the other was killed by a US airstrike in July 2016. The group have been behind some of the most brutal attacks in Afghanistan over the last few years. They attacked a Sikh Gurdwara temple last year, as well as attacking a maternity ward in Kabul, in which 20 women were murdered, some of whom were still in the process of giving birth. According to the Centre for Strategic and International Studies, ISIS-K launched 100 attacks on civilians in Pakistan and Afghanistan between 2015 and 2017. More recently, a United Nations report estimated that the group is between 500 and 1,200 fighters. Now experts are saying that the figure could rise to 10,000 fighters in the coming years as the chaos in Afghanistan continues to unfold.
Could you hear that shit? Or was it breaking up?
Yeah, real bad. That was the worst one. As far as hearing, I know, man. Like this pissing me off because I want to hear it.
That's okay. You could probably play it back later. But it was like, I don't know, man. The ISIS-K don't seem like no real people. Like they said 500 to 1,000 or 2,000 fighters. Like they don't sound like nobody that's freaking formidable. You know what I mean? And then it don't sound real. They don't even look scary.
I mean, just think about. I mean, like the people right now that's taking over Afghanistan. Like, isn't that the same way they started out? The Taliban, they grew over the years. Like even from back in the '80s, right?
Yeah, kind of, but not really. I mean, it's different. It's very different. It's very, very different, man. The Taliban are like a people. Uh, they identify themselves, as this group. The ISIS-K is more like a freaking club. I mean, I don't know. Like I say, I don't think it's real. That's what it is. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not real.
Well, that's a part of like me asking that question is because just like I mean, this could be just another entity to be able to throw salt in the game.
Right.
Somebody puppeteering
Right.
in order to.
Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. In so many words.
Yeah.
Just to make mess, just make chaos. Because I be saying that all the time because that's the best way to extort resources from a country is make that country chaotic so they can't freaking pay attention to you stealing their resources.
Well, and exactly. Well, I mean, a lot of them know that's some of that stuff is going on because they're on the ground, but because of the power, it's like they're not gonna tell them, no, you can't have none. Even what I'm saying, even the people who's against them there, I mean, a lot of times it's gonna be, the actual puppet, the person who's actually pulling the strings. They're not gonna tell them no because they're always showing themselves as being the savior. So, but yeah, that's mostly what I think about that group you're talking about, that club you mentioned, as you say. Um, they're being used, getting paid to. Uh, who's to say
Yeah,
who
that's
they're
exactly what
real?
I'm saying.
Yeah, What if because I mean, maybe first thought would be, that's the U.S. trying to do that, but what if the Taliban is doing that so it doesn't have to come from them?
And
Like,
and a lot of people got to understand that the geopolitics is complex, and it may be a group of countries that's funding them. And who are they? We don't know.
yeah, they don't want to take, responsibility from a country, so they can use this group that's not connected directly to any government to come in and cause chaos. I mean, that's kind of like, when we have the, those BLM um, marches, and then they had other groups that were coming in and burning stuff and, you know, painting on the walls and this, that, and the other. So
Yeah, and it gets bigger than that. It's like the NGOs, the non-government organizations, and like the Red Cross or whoever,
yeah,
because it's perfect when it's a private like entity. Those contractors, the what is it, Blackwater, the ones that contract the contractors, so you
hired
can blame them
mercenaries.
whenever something happens. You can blame them.
Hmm.
The government don't have to take responsibility for it. You get what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
We got these
exactly.
proxy people or proxy groups or proxy organizations who act as scapegoats for all the hate that'll come from the stuff of them messing up, or not even messing up, actually succeeding in their horrible ass plan, but looking like it was a mistake. Because I think that's what they do all the time. It's so horrible.
Yeah,
It's like, where the money go? Where does the money go every time? Every time. Like those commercials that show the little kids in Africa with the needing to eat. And it's like all these years we've been watching these damn commercials, and these people been paying, they say just nickel a day or whatever. So them kids still hungry after all this time, bro. What is going on?
yeah,
Like, where did the money go? And I think that's the question that we should ask every time. And that's how we'll start getting, they say, follow the money. Because
yeah,
if you
yeah.
want whatever rabbit hole you decide to go, you go down that rabbit hole, go ahead and do it. But then once you go down that rabbit hole, once you get deep, now start looking at the money. Who got paid? Where did the money go? And a lot of answers are going to start popping up, and things are going to start making a whole bunch of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. You all right? You about to wrap up? How much longer you gonna be driving, bro?
I got before I'll be done driving probably another 10, 15 minutes. I got 9 miles.
Oh, bet.
So
Cool beans, cool beans. So you can relax a little bit.
well, yeah, I was you know, hang out for a little bit longer, but I'll be able to get in my little spot and I can turn my light on at least you know.
And say hi to the peoples out
Yeah.
there. We've been having at least one person. What's up, whoever you are? We've been having at least one person watching this whole time. It's been blinking a little bit. I try not to look at that little number too much, but there's at least one person been watching pretty much the whole time.
Okay.
So, and my channel kind of been doing good. I did a promotion for that King Chaka ENT page ad. I paid for a little promotion. It wasn't expensive, and I got a pretty good return. I think I only got one subscriber out of that deal, but I got a pretty good number of views. But it's the subscriber that I really want, people that's actually interested in this crazy retarded show that I do.
Wow. You gotta
Yeah.
tell them to like and share.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Shit. And this channel's growing. I got somebody working on a banner. I mean, like a logo, kind of like for me for this channel. So I can't even think of the right words. I don't know why I'm not saying the right words, but he's gonna do a banner for me, and he's gonna do a can't think of it, icon like, and I'm gonna use that for the channel, hopefully, and advertisement. Get like little business cards and pass them out. If you like put politics and race and religion and retarded shit.
Yeah, I mean, these are
Check the
important
NT.
conversations. These are
Yeah.
important conversations, but you know, I'm not media trained to be able to, you know, really talk around some of these subjects, because you know I go in on some of this stuff, but you know.
Yeah, we got to be careful. That sucks. But you know, if I can get the channel to grow, then I'll be able to do this on other platforms where we'll be able to talk more freely, you know, on YouTube, because YouTube is pretty much the biggest platform. If I'm gonna get a foothold in this podcast thing, I'm trying to get on Spotify. I was looking at that. They're gonna make me pay. I don't want to spend. I already been spending money. So, but anyways, I'm gonna keep growing the page and different. You know, right now we're streaming on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. I think our viewer is on Twitch. Shout out to you. Thank you for watching.
See, I don't even know what Twitch is.
It's like a streaming. It's a streaming platform. Mostly people use it for playing video games, but I use it for this because, you know, I'm me. I'm going to play a couple videos and let you get situated probably. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. Because you got like 10 minutes or so. You wrapping it up, right?
No, I can hang out for a little bit. So
Oh,
I'll be done. I'll be driving. I'll be done driving for the night. At that. Now I'm down to less than 6 miles.
Okay.
So, yeah, I can hang out for a little while longer.
Okay, cool, man. I appreciate your time. Let me see.
After the explosion, I ran, and many other people also ran. I didn't see who was shooting. I ran out into the street and heard both gunfire and the sound of an explosion. I'm not sure if my brother was hit by an American bullet or a fragment of an explosive device. The Americans opened fire to protect themselves because they feared another explosion. I was standing right next to my brother, so the right side of my neck was slightly cut, and I also have problems with my right ear. I was concussed.
All right, let's now go across live to RT's Murad Gazdiev standing by for us in Kabul, where we do have about a 10-second delay with our transmission. So, Murad, it's going to take a moment for you to hear me. But as I understand, you've been meeting with several survivors of Thursday's attack in Kabul. What more can you tell us?
Well, what we have heard, and bear in mind, we visited just one hospital. Survivors and victims of that terrible tragedy were taken to many hospitals because such was the quantity, the number of people that were injured. 200 dead, 200 or thereabouts injured. But the story we heard is the same story that is being told in all the other hospitals, in American press, in worldwide press. that American troops began firing in the aftermath of the explosion, that the suicide bomber came within very close proximity of U.S. troops who were lined up shoulder to shoulder, detonated his device, and pandemonium began. People began rushing and screaming. Some had no idea what was going on. Those that were further back some of them told us that they saw American troops shooting. Others said they had no idea who was shooting. All they wanted to do was to survive. The doctor we spoke to at the hospital also described one of the victims who was brought in, a man who didn't make it, a man who died, who had numerous wounds to him, 5 in all, some of them shrapnel blasts, so shrapnel wounds from obviously the explosion, but also bullet wounds.
There were 3 patients, with a critical condition that we admitted to ICU. One was in general peritonitis. He was shot in chest and abdomen and leg, and he also in the hand. He did
5. So he had 5 bullet wounds.
He had many wounds, but I couldn't say that all of them were from bullets.
Some were bullets.
Some were bullets.
More than that, we have now requested for a comment from the Pentagon to address these allegations coming from all over Kabul that it was U.S. troops who fired into the crowd. The Pentagon has said that it is investigating this matter, but from experience, these investigations can take sometimes more than a year, as we saw, for example, in Mosul in Iraq, where there were a number of deadly airstrikes that killed dozens, sometimes more than 100 people. Nevertheless, there is still a lot of tension here in Kabul. There is an expectation that there may be more attacks, a threat level that is persistent, that is ongoing, according to the Taliban, according to the United States and its allies. All of them have said that this danger remains. Just to remind everyone, there are now about 24 hours left before the Taliban's ultimatum expires, and that is that the United States must leave Afghanistan by the end of the 31st.
Well, they did leave. Today is the 2nd. You there?
Is it the 2nd? Today?
Well, now it is.
Oh, okay, now it's okay.
And they did leave, so. But I played that video because I saw a few videos, and even some of the clips that they played on the mainstream videos, but they just didn't talk about it because it was dead people. You know, it had to be, and like the people who the airplane and all that stuff. I mean, I don't like to make my channel be about gory stuff, but some of the people who, were killed, it wasn't the Taliban who killed them, and you know what I'm saying, and it wasn't done by suicide bombers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like I say, sometimes you have to do what you have to do. Things got crazy over there. Things got pretty hairy. I think that the U.S. should stand on what they do and what they don't do. That's the reason why there's so much confusion out here, and everybody don't know what to fucking believe because they want to leave out information and bend it and twist it and outright lie about other stuff.
Yep.
Sometimes shit happens. They need to be able to say that. It don't always be malicious. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, now you talking about as far as taking the people out on the internet?
Well, you saw in that video. Well, you probably was chopped up for you in that video. They was this was last week. It was some people who got hit with either bullets or shrapnel, whatever. Some of them died, and some of the reports were saying that it was U.S. fighters.
Okay, that was actually shooting.
Yeah. And it was
Yeah.
a bunch of crazy shit happened leading up to the air finally everybody leaving because it was a mess though. That's what I say. It was a whole mess. And they were trying to actually evacuate the people who wanted to leave, especially people who, because these are regular folks. A lot of people don't understand, like Afghanistan, like they're just saying they're Afghanistan people. These are regular folks that they probably move back and forth between Afghanistan and the United States all the time, have relatives here, go to college here, whatever.
Yeah.
So like I say, these are regular folks. So a lot of them might have interests here in the United States that are interests to the United States, if that makes any sense to you. You know what I mean? So they had interests to get people out. That makes sense. So they really was trying to get people out before
Well,
that deadline because Taliban, I saw a clip. It's a dude that makes fun of the Taliban. He's a comedian. And that was his thing that he did during like the 20 years or so when the Taliban was ousted out of Afghanistan, the United States occupation. And he made stand up, like he did performance shows where he was making fun of the Taliban, and he got famous and made money off of that. So, but guess what happens? Soon as the Taliban took over Afghanistan, they came and picked that nigga up, man. They picked him up. They did some videos themselves. I mean, and then eventually they killed him. So they don't take a joke. They don't. That's not funny to them. You know what I'm saying? Those jokes wasn't funny to them. And I mean, it's sad. It's very sad. But that's another reason why people were leaving, because like if you was known to be like cool with the United States, like you assisted them in any way, they might kill you, and that's what they're probably doing right now. A lot of the people who, if you stayed and you had any connection to the United States, they probably are killing you. So, and if you made jokes about them or wrote papers that was like the media type stuff against them, then yeah, they killing you. That's the kind of shit. That's what they be on.
yeah, the translate any translators that help, you know.
So that's the reason why the United States is trying to get all those people out. Um, and so that's what people don't really understand about that situation. So like I say, but that dude that was making fun of them, he had to know how they are. He knew them. He was able to make fun of them really well. So he knew them really well. So he should have known that they was gonna come for his head. I would have moved my whole family. He had a family. I think he had a wife and like two daughters. And now he's gone. What are they gonna do to his freaking family, bruh? They still in Afghanistan as far as I don't know. I don't know that story. You guys out there can look that up and update me on that shit. Or maybe I will look it up and update you guys on it, because like I say, I mean, I would have got my fucking, you knew they was coming, bruh. I would have got my fucking family the fuck up out of there, bro.
Yep, before the dead, anywhere before the deadline, look, they wouldn't even have to pay me or get my tickets. Shit, I got the ticket myself, and
Leave your shit and go.
yep,
Because they don't play. It's not funny to them. They don't take jokes like that. That's not funny to them. The
yeah,
whole
they
thing,
pull.
what people don't understand, the way they look at this is a U.S. occupation for 20 years. And they're the rightful governing peoples. And that's another thing that people don't understand is how easily they took over Afghanistan, is because the people are cool with them. A whole lot cooler with them than they are with the U.S. The majority of the people. They might not like that super conservative form of Islam, but they still prefer their people running the show, someone that's closer to them than the United States.
Of course, yeah. I mean, I think that's in any situation, but I mean,
We can't blame them for that. I'm smudge on my screen. Yeah, you can't blame them for that. I think I got one. Let me see.
The Israeli-Palestinian conflict dominates American news coverage of international issues. Given that news coverage is Americans' main source of information on the conflict, it becomes important to examine the stories the news media are telling us and to ask the question, does the news coverage reflect the reality on the ground?
Gun battles rage tonight in some of the heaviest
battle for survival
for Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat.
One of the things you have to keep in mind when you're looking at how media report on something like the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is not only understanding what's there in the story, but more importantly, what's not there, what's being left out. In that sense, absence is as vital as presence in terms of how people make sense of the story. Context is everything.
The context that's often missing from the current reporting is that the Palestinian uprising is a revolt against a 34-year-long occupation. And if there's no occupation in the story, then the story doesn't really make sense, and the occupation is frequently missing.
A typical TV news report, for example, on ABC News, will show dramatic pictures of these confrontations where Palestinians are confronting Israeli troops and the Israeli troops are responding.
But Friday saw more clashes in Hebron between stone-throwing Palestinian youths and Israeli soldiers armed with
For most Americans who don't understand the history of the conflict, this is an example of riots that are going on where the authorities are taking measures to crack down. What's not mentioned is the fact that these confrontations are taking place on occupied territory, that the Israeli troops who are there are defending an occupation that doesn't have any international legitimacy, that's illegal.
The American media, they are concentrating only on the deeds, on the violence, and not on the reasons, and not on the basic facts of occupation.
Israeli troops were pelted with stones and they responded with tear gas and rubber bullets.
This is not presented as an army using its arsenal against young people who are largely unarmed and who are protesting because of the occupation, the siege, the total oppression of a whole nation.
The lack of context is so dramatic that only 4% of the network news reports on the occupied West Bank and Gaza Strip mention that the West Bank and Gaza Strip are occupied.
The Israeli military sends its troops into the occupied territories to defend what is considered an illegal occupation. And when the population there resists, Israel is presented as being under attack.
Israel was responding to an attack today.
Israel has beefed up forces following a Palestinian mortar attack.
They don't present it as saying Israel is the aggressor, Israel is killing people on their own land, in their own homes as an occupier. But no, Israel is defending itself.
To Sharon, the West Bank invasion is simple self-defense.
The Israeli Prime Minister reiterated Israel's right to self-defense.
Israel's basic posture is anything but defensive. Israel is the only country in the world right now which, in contravention to UN Security Council resolutions, maintains tens of thousands of heavily armed troops outside its borders in somebody else's country for the sole purpose of taking their land away from them and in the process forcing them to live under the worst form of tyranny imaginable, which is a foreign military dictatorship.
The tanks, the gunships, the snipers, they are all on Palestinian land. And I don't see why they have to protect themselves on our land if they're occupying our land. That context is always missing.
A crowd throwing stones and homemade stun grenades at the soldiers. The troops opening fire, killing 2 Palestinians and injuring...
So even when Israel is busy murdering people in cold blood, it is always presented as part of the self-defense mechanism of Israel.
When Israel in the occupied territories now claim that they have to defend themselves,
They are defending themselves in the sense that any military occupier has to defend itself against the population they're crushing.
Prime Minister Ariel Sharon justified the siege as self-defense.
You can't defend yourselves when you're militarily occupying somebody else's land. That's not defense. Call it what you like, it's not defense.
Public relations works not only by controlling the content of media reports, but also by making sure that some voices are never heard. The marginalization of the Israeli peace movement in the American media is an example of how this works.
It's been the point of view of the Israeli peace movement for years that the fundamental cause of the conflict is the Israeli occupation of Palestinian land and the settlement policies. But that view is considered in the United States something that's extremely marginal, and that you rarely see that view put forward in the American media.
We, in the Women's Peace Camp in Israel, organized a mass vigil of women in black and a mass march through the streets of Jerusalem. 2,000 women strong, both Israelis and Palestinians. Can you picture that dramatic moment? 2,000 women dressed in black marching down the streets of Jerusalem to the walls of the Old City, where we hung banners from the walls of the Old City saying peace in 3 languages, Hebrew, Arabic, and English. And guess what? It didn't get into the media.
That's not the kind of image that the media wants to create, because then all these images of Jews and Arabs working together, of Palestinians wanting peace, would create a kind of dissonance. It would contradict the message that the media has been giving us for years and years. Then how do you explain it? You can't explain it.
The Israeli public relations machine knows that if the views and voices of Jews who disagree with its policies were to become public, it would be impossible to maintain the lie that any criticism of Israel is by definition anti-Semitic. In fact, the accusation of anti-Semitism has been Israel's most effective strategy in silencing dissent, and American journalists in particular have been targets of this tactic.
Any environment in which a journalist or any person steps forward and starts making serious criticism of Israel, of America's relationship with Israel, the unconditional support for Israel, the failure of any serious pressure to be put upon Israel by the United States to prevent the building of further settlements for Jews and Jews only on Arab land. Any suggestion that the war between the Israelis and the Palestinians is a colonial war will be met by a deafening chorus of accusations, slanderous and lying though they are, that the person who brings up that subject is in some form an anti-Semite or a racist. And this remains the constant weapon that is used.
The fact that anti-Semitism is alive and well in the world today makes it all the more important to differentiate between real anti-Semitism that needs to be condemned and opposed in its own right, and its misuse as a PR strategy. Trying to scare people into silence by conflating any criticism of Israeli policies with anti-Semitism, in fact, detracts from the very real threat that anti-Semitism does pose.
Because there are anti-Semites in the world, there are racists, and if this continued campaign of abuse against decent people, trying to shut them up by falsely accusing them of anti-Semitism continues, the word anti-Semitism will begin to become respectable. And that is a great danger. And then the really bad guys, and they're around, there are people who want to burn synagogues, just like there are people who want to burn mosques. They'll start coming into their own.
Heavy stuff, huh?
Yeah, man. But I mean, it's the stuff that they saying is so true, man. Like, you know, the way that they present the whole dynamic over there is like, it's not even close to real, you know. And like, for those who don't understand the history or don't know the history of how all of this stuff began, it's just kind of clueless, and it's just like, you know,
confusion.
Yeah, they end up taking a stance that if they knew the truth, they, you know, they would be probably pissed.
I think it will piss a lot of people off, and that's why they're not going to even try to hear this stuff, because it's going to make them so mad at themselves for, you know, accepting this information and not questioning it.
Yep.
So yeah, so I think that a lot of people have a really huge misconstrued view of the conflict over there. So this will be a reoccurring theme on my channel just because I feel like, like I say, things that go happen around the world affect us. The Israel stuff definitely affects us. They're like a little baby United States. Anyways, I can go on and on about that, but what I'm saying is, the point of the reason why I played that video was, people don't really understand that at all, and basically it's mainly because of the way it's covered in the media.
Yeah, the biggest problem that I have with a lot of that is, them always using that anti-Semitic, being anti-Semitic, and it's like if anybody's ever looked up the words, you'll know that the people who's claiming to be that doesn't fit that description. And being able to say, oh, they're just blaming them, but they're just protecting themselves. Dude, if you weren't there in the first place acting like like you are, and then trying to encroach, you've already taken a piece of land that belonged to a people, and then steadily trying to encroach every chance you get to more land, then how are you, I mean, you're really instigating this whole thing by you know your own actions. So you're not really protecting yourself. You're not, when
making
somebody
it
takes.
making it worse, because like the dude said in the video, so then the word is going to have no meaning, and I could see that happening already, right? Anti-Semitic, so people going to be like, right?
Yeah, for the most part.
So that gives power to the bad guys, the ones who are actually being that way, trying to be ugly.
And that's why it's so like it's so dangerous. Like the media is so powerful because the way they're able to spread propaganda, and how in the way they want to, really like makes it bad for everybody. Like you know if it's for whatever reason that they're trying to still take more and more and more land, I mean it's really a form of genocide, because if at some point, because I mean if they're not actually, they're like killing people, like, because that part of the genocide, but you know the governmental side, the paper, like them actually being able to,
Uh,
it's still that whole doctrine of discovery type thing that's going on, but they're.
and And when you look at it like that, because ethnic cleansing, you could call it that too, genocide, ethnic cleansing, because it's a certain group, it's a certain ethnic group too. So that's the thing. So, but in the United Nations or whatever, that's against the law or whatever, right?
Yeah, I mean,
So that's the reason why they don't frame it that way. And a lot of countries aren't cool with Israel because of what they're doing to the Palestinians. And so, but Israel have a whole lot of power.
I was
They got the
thinking
United
about,
States. Go ahead.
what I was thinking about earlier was too, is like, especially like how we know how the media is, because just like with this example, I mean, what they're telling us, like our enemies that we're potentially going to war with, is like these are the bad people, but at the same time we can't forget what kind of steps has been made in the name of America, to where other people are ready to say, you know what, you're ruining all of this, so you got to be stopped one way or another. So China and Russia, saying that like that whole idea about um, having that shitty war that he mentioned, like they're already prepping the people to look at it as, oh, these are bad people that's coming in here to try to take over our country, where they know that they've done wrong, and the real reason why these people are talking the way they are. So hopefully the people can kind of see that and, not be taken again and again and again by the propaganda that's been spread on TV.
Yep. And what you were saying earlier, like what is scary, because like I say about the World War, because tiddling, tattling, freaking fiddling around with this shit could blow up in our fucking face.
Quick, not because I don't expect everybody to be able to understand everything. I mean, I don't understand everything, and that's going on globally, but man, it's real deep, and like understanding the history is what really makes you understand a lot clearer about what's going on here. Just like I said with these Israelis, like these are people who were, put in this place with a bunch of people that's been there for, the ancestors of their, been there for thousands of years, and
And
now
did you see
are
the guy in the other video? He really didn't understand Israel, and he was all like, "Oh, is hasn't the Jewish people been there?" I was like, "No, it didn't even exist, bro." It was like,
well, the whole premise on that is that there were Jews in that area at one time, and they're replacing those Jews with these new Jews. What used to be, black Jews that existed in that area, and they replaced it with some, what people use the term as converts. Like, they were, because I mean, Jew is not like a bloodline.
right.
It's a belief. It's a belief system. So,
And that's what they're doing. So, okay, if you can prove that your parent or somebody said they were Jewish, some kind of like that grandparent, then you can say you're Jewish and you can move there and they give you money and shit. And so that's how it works. So then you got these are innocent families, really, and they give them houses, but these houses are on fucking Palestinian land. That's how it works.
yep. And
Simple.
I guess as their population is growing, they're trying to encroach on more and more of land that wasn't yours to begin with, and now you want to cry wolf. Oh, we're just trying to. Well, we shot at them, but we was protecting ourselves. No, it don't work like that. I mean, not if you look at you looking at reality. The truth, the real honest truth. No, you are occupying force. Let's not pretend that you've been here for hundreds of years or even
It's really
they're
them. It's really them defending themselves
exactly.
with the little shit that they have.
Yep.
Yep. It's almost 2 a.m. You look tired, bro. You want to wrap it?
We can, that's up to you. Maybe I come on tomorrow and we can talk
Yeah,
about something.
I'm definitely gonna be on tomorrow. Um, I want to play a little bit of this just because, bro. Like what you said is heavy, and then like about the World War III shit, and it's like people don't understand, and also people don't understand that the U.S. ain't as strong as we fucking think we are. We don't want it with some of these countries. Let me play this.
So you may have heard that Iran is rushing towards weapons of mass destruction, and if you believe the previous US administration, that they also have links with Al-Qaeda. Conveniently, the two exact same things that the Bush administration said prior to going into Iraq and toppling Saddam Hussein.
Because there was a relationship between Iraq and Al-Qaeda.
Al-Qaeda has a new home base. It is the Islamic Republic of Iran.
But they were determined to have the capability to develop chemical, biological, and nuclear weapons if allowed to do so.
The bottom line is they are getting closer to the point where they would be either a threshold nuclear power or actually a nuclear power.
So this is not exactly the first place that the United States has used this excuse in order to go into a country or to oppose the country in general. But this time it's being used as a cover for not getting back into the JCPOA or Iran nuclear deal. Now, if you are to believe Netanyahu, who has been saying
Iran lied big time.
He has been making predictions time and time again about Iran's nuclear weapons and when they will have them. In fact, we've heard now that Iran may have nuclear weapons in a matter of weeks to months if you were to believe the US administration or even Aviv Kochavi, a top general in the Israeli military. But what if I told you that just like with the Iraq war, this is a cover and the real issues that the United States and Israel and the rest of the West have with Iran have little to do with nuclear weapons. This is not something that's so hidden. In fact, if you check the dialogue on the issue, they'll tell you exactly what their problems with Iran are. Like, for instance, with Joe Biden's administration getting back into JCPOA, they're constantly talking about Iran's missile programs and their offensive and defensive capabilities and how they are producing new types of weaponry. And on top of that as well, their partnerships inside of the Middle East, which the United States and Israel claim cause instability and also undermine their strategic hegemonic endeavors inside of the region. So it makes sense that the United States and Israel would be mad at Iran for supporting groups like Hamas in the Gaza Strip or Hezbollah in South Lebanon, both of which present strategic threats to the number one ally of the United States in the region. On top of that as well, the United States doesn't exactly feel secure about Iran's missile capabilities, which at the moment would be able to deliver payloads into Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, or pretty much any US base inside of the region. So this is something that really does actually mean something to the United States and Israel, is deterring Iran from supporting their allies inside of the region, whether they be in Yemen, Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq. It's all places which the United States and Israel don't want Iran to have any involvement in whatsoever. So at this point you may be asking, why is he saying that nuclear weapons aren't a factor here? Because they could present a threat to Israel or maybe even the United States in the region. But what we have to understand is that with Israel, even if Iran did develop a nuclear weapon and it did have a nuclear weapons program, which all the authoritative sources will claim does not exist, it is very unlikely that Iran would strike Israel with a nuclear weapon, just because of the importance in the Islamic religion of the Holy Land, and also the fact that if they were going to commit a genocidal act like that as well, they'd kill a lot of Palestinians. Iran has sworn that using nuclear weapons is something that is prohibited Islamically, and on top of that as well, the only country on earth to ever have used a nuclear weapon is the United States, and Israel is the only country in the region with nuclear weapons which doesn't state that it has nuclear weapons and also has not signed the non-proliferation treaty. Israel has been tracked at developing its nuclear facilities. They're actually enlarging according to aerial photographs of Israel's facilities, yet the United States is not concerned about this whatsoever, despite the fact that Israel threatens its neighbors almost on a daily basis. And the other thing to note here is that Iran is portrayed as a radical, crazy group of terrorists, but even when their nuclear scientist Mohsen Fakhrizadeh was just killed last year, assassinated by Israel, Iran didn't actually respond with anything. So if Iran was a country that just wanted the genocide of the Jewish people that are living inside of Israel right now, why wouldn't it take any opportunity possible to it? Because they do have the capabilities of really hitting Israel hard and killing an enormous amount of people in that small territory. So we're looking at another situation here where the United States is not being truthful. US Biden administration is not recognizing the fact that it is the United States that unilaterally withdrew from the Iran nuclear deal. A deal which was signed, by the way, from a Western perspective to stop Iran from developing nuclear capabilities. Just like for the launch of the Iraq war, there's a lot of deception that's going on in order to justify the aggression against Iran, which is enabling sanctions which are killing the Iranian people.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That I just played that because it's the global, it's the geopolitics of the region, and it shows how, you know, because they're gonna move on. They're gonna move on, I think, hopefully, and this is where they're going is because they've been talking about Iran for the longest. They're talking about Iran, and that's
The
right over there next
nuclear
to you. Say what?
and their nuclear involved because yeah, Trump is the one that got out of that deal, right?
Right.
Because I remember at one point they had made a pact that nobody was going to use nuclear weapons, and they were actually storing the plutonium or whatever it is that whatever weapons you had, like they had made a facility where Iran, I guess, would be, I guess it being a small one, that they wouldn't, necessarily be the dangerous people with it, with all of the weapons of, like the plutonium, the what was like their reserves of plutonium was being saved in Iran. So like now, I guess I don't know, a lot of that stuff. It's still because I mean, everybody give up all of their stuff anyway. We still got a nuclear even before Trump. You know what I'm saying? Russia still got theirs. Sure, China has theirs, so I don't know. It was still kind of like a two-faced deal to begin with. But yeah, man.
But this is what is it? Mutually assured destruction. So nobody wants that for sure. And anyways, they don't fight wars like that anyways anymore. And really the time when when the US dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they didn't need to do that either then. So and history is not gonna be kind on that.
But it wasn't nuclear, was it? It was some kind of some kind of a gas or something that they released, didn't they?
No, they did it was nuclear. Those were the two ones. Nagasaki and Hiroshima. And historically they did do gases and freaking they napalm was the big thing that everybody was mad about during the Vietnam
Yeah,
war.
okay. That's what I'm thinking about. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's all kinds of the gas was the World War II stuff too. Yeah, and they still use because see they bioweapons are the ones that like everybody frowns upon. So that's how they was talking about Syria. Remember they was talking about Syria and they were talking about Assad gassed his people, and that was an excuse for the United States to go, get involved over there.
And like just thinking back, because this was like what 3 years ago or so, 2 or 3 years ago when all that happened. No, yeah, probably about three. Yeah, I guess about 3 years ago. I mean, that goes back to that whole media thing. You know what I'm saying? W- A lot of times we don't even know that if there's a real conflict over there or not. You know what I'm saying? We just going by what they're saying.
So
Shoot.
crazy.
Yeah, like I've seen so many times where they've recreated or well created some kind of a scene
The
with
white
these.
helmets. Did you hear about the white helmets? Because I was heavy into that shit, and they had me sold on that shit. And but the white helmets, they were doing that shit, staging them. A lot of those images that came out, they found out that shit was fake as fuck, and they were staging that shit. The white helmets, and they had their own media people, and they were film people, is what they were. They were like people that were the ones who did the filming part. It was a whole bunch of shit going on with that. Crazy,
Yeah.
crazy. It's just like the ISIS or the ISIS-K.
Yeah, man, it's just kind of hard to trust these people at all. At least for me.
So what you want to say to the people before you go? Like, you got a message? Anything been on your mind?
Not really. I mean,
What you been looking up? What you been like? What's been catching your eye?
um, well, like I was saying earlier, like a lot of I guess the chatter of, potential wars and this, that, and the other, and I guess if it'll actually really happen, of course, I'm hoping that it doesn't, especially, not here. But I would definitely say be ready so you don't have to get ready. So I mean, as far as stocking up on food, getting you know, you, if you can get any kind of self protection, do that. And just keep and pray that we don't necessarily have to use it, but we got the insurance just in case.
But like I say, man, ain't nobody there ain't no ground invasion ever gonna happen here in the United States. If the United States, crumbles or gets defeated, it won't be by no fucking ground invasion here, because you cannot. It's way too many niggas with fucking guns, and they got lots and lots of bullets too.
That is a definite.
And that's what I be talking about, niggas in the hood though, right? What's the difference between niggas in the hood and like the white folks or whatever? It's like niggas be having a whole bunch of different guns. They do. And they might have 2 clips or whatever with them hoes, and they might have a couple of cases of shells. Them white folks be having cases and cases of bullets.
I still been
So
trying to
many bullets. But
get me a
niggas don't
case.
understand. When the fight happens, you run out of bullets. Now what?
It's over.
Them white folks know that. They got cases.
You better be you better be a good shot, and that's the main thing, because if it ever was to ever go down, like it's gonna go down for some months. So like, if you get caught up in the first wave or something, shoot, and spend all of your
Yeah, you
your
spent them
bullets
2 clips. You spent them 3, 4 clips you had
on 1 or 2 people. Yeah.
Now what? Your gun is useless now.
Yep.
Nigga got 10 guns and no bullets. 25 guns, no bullets.
Yep.
And white folks, they be having cases and cases, bro. I done seen that shit. It's crazy.
Dude, like one of the truck drivers that's with the company I'm with, he was talking about, how he's got, like a whole, like, you could probably call it like almost a gun museum. Like, they got guns galore and, ammo. Like, they've been prepping for this for a long time, some of them.
That's why I say, that's why it would be impossible to take the U.S. by ground. You can't do it. You can't do it because these niggas don't give a damn about the military. It's because after the Civil War, it was still people fighting. Niggas didn't know the war was over. Niggas was still fighting.
Well, I mean, it can definitely happen. That's one thing that I could like.
What I'm saying is they're gonna have problems. They're not gonna make it very far.
Yeah, no, I'm not. No, I mean,
they're gonna have problems. They're gonna have problems. No way, bro. Like I say, block to block, and these people don't know. They don't care which side you on, whose team you are, whatever, nigga. You coming over here with some bullshit, nigga? Brat, brat, brat. And they gonna have to go through that block to block. It's gonna definitely be certain areas they'll never be able to conquer. Because every time you come over there, they're gonna be blah blah blah. I don't give a damn who you is, nigga. What?
Yeah, it's gonna be one. Yeah, you know they got all
Certain neighborhoods, definitely you're not gonna be able to, because you got neighborhoods right now, the cops don't even go in. They're not fucking with them. They know they about their business over there.
Oh yeah.
Cops ain't fucking with them. That's true. That's real shit. It's already like a military post-apocalyptic ass fucking in over there in the hood. You get what I'm saying? They already going through it. These niggas already got post-traumatic stress syndrome and everything. Nigga, these niggas they've been training for years too, because they shooting and killing each other every day. That's why I say anybody who come is gonna get it, because they don't give a damn. They don't give a fuck. Like, whoever you are, you coming over here with some shit, we don't give a fuck. Brat, brat. I don't care what you look like. White, black, rich, poor, Asian, Taliban, Chinese. Everybody can get it. Brat, brat. America.
America.
Oh shit. Oh shit, I lost him. Man, that shit funny to me. Because like I say, that's one thing. I feel like I'm an American, you know. I'm an American. I'm an American at the end of the day. I'm American. And I know Americans. And Americans don't give a damn what side you on, as long as you don't bring that shit over here. Don't bring your shit over here, because if you do, we're going to bring it to you. And that's just what it is. You're going to have a whole lot of problems. A whole lot of problems. You're going to have a shit ton of problems. Hey, you still there? Yeah. Oh, shit, I can't hear you. Say something. I don't hear you. I'm getting fuzz. All I'm getting is fuzz.
How
I
about
can't hear
now?
you. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it switched to the truck phone, but yeah, man, I didn't want to just leave out on, on that, with the drop off like that, but I probably should be getting myself
Me too. Me too. I might go a little while longer after you're done, but yeah, me too.
What was the last thing I was saying before
You were saying that they could possibly get us on the ground, like if like China or Russia or somebody was attacking the United States, it was like World War III, and they could attack us on the land, and I was like, they're gonna have a whole lot of trouble.
well, I mean, I don't know if they would want to, but I mean, they definitely got a bunch of people, you know what I'm saying? And the I guess to make, because kind of like what they did with Saddam, I think that's what they would try to do as far as on the leadership and a lot of the, like, try to make sure they are done. If
They
you,
would have to Saddam, you know how the way they did Iraq, it was like the shock and awe thing. I remember that shit really, really well. And it was over in a day, 3 days or some shit, a week. It was really short. And that's because the way they did like a ground and air attack. They did like that blitzkrieg shit, like from Germany. That's probably what they was really copying off of. And that's what they did. They did a ground and air attack all at the same time, and with missiles and shit. So, and Iraq is not that big. Like, they not like no, they not no Russia. They not no China, bro. They like I said before in other videos, we pick on small, weaker countries. We don't attack. We're a bully. We're a bully. Bullies don't attack people as big like them. Bullies attack little, weak, squeaky people.
Yeah. Well, no. Well, I mean, that's that's what the U.S. does. But I think that because I mean, Russia and China would be a combined effort.
Exactly.
To
But even either one of them on just by themselves, and if we tried to do like we did with Iraq, how successful do you think that would be? And what kind of retaliation you think would happen?
um. Well, based on the story, because I mean, if we had the truth of why everything was really happening, it probably wouldn't be that big of a fight. Like we sit back and watch them go in and try to take the heads down. You know, a lot of us think that okay, well, it doesn't matter. They hear, like they're not really paying attention to why. It's like it would never cross their mind that oh, wait a minute, they're here to save us and get rid of the oligarchy or the criminal side of our government. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people gonna be like, whatever they saying on TV, that's what's real. So
It's
yeah,
sad.
yeah, man,
Well, peace and love, man. I appreciate your time. I always
definitely.
appreciate your thoughts and commentary and opinions.
I'm glad to be here, man. Yeah, I should be able to meet, us be able to do something tomorrow. I'm gonna give me some rest so I can be able to hopefully get done pretty early if they're not playing around. But yeah, we'll
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna do a show tomorrow. I'm gonna finish up some of the stuff, the political stuff related to kind of like Afghanistan and geopolitics, and I want to talk about how they have profited off of the pandemic. How much money they're making off of that, and I want to talk about how the prison industrial complex, and that's pretty much what the next show is going to be.
okay. Well, that's cool. We'll make it do what it do.
Oh yeah, I got some shit about China and tech industry and shit, cause the niggas is making the kids only play games like 2 hours or 3 hours a week or something like that. Like the China is really attacking the tech industry because they feel like they have too much power.
They do.
China is ahead of us in a lot of shit, bro. That's another thing people don't really fucking understand. We're following. They was following us. That's what made them do this capitalist, communist type of society experiment that they're doing. But now they're leading us, and we're kind of following behind them.
Well, no, it's not a kinda. Like, shoot, we've been like they've been ahead of us. I mean, because if you look at just the GDP, okay, yeah, I mean most of that GDP is calculated based on the size of the companies that's based out of the U.S. But a lot of you know the labor and all these other things, that's because we would probably be beneath them even in GDP if the actual let's say like if they're building the stuff in China and then that's what represented what that actually represented the gross domestic profits, or the trade, then like we would have already been behind. We're not really well, maybe some of the creation is actually happening here, but the actual products are being made in a lot. Whether it's China, Japan, Malaysia, wherever they, actually.
But even beyond that, they're ahead of us in like the social type, because like another thing they're doing is they're attacking companies that exploit families, like people who, there's a lot of companies over there that charge families for tutoring, because you know how education is a big deal over there. And then they charge, so they made it so what you can't tutor people for profit or something like that or whatever. But it's about making the families not be so stressed about raising children or making it less expensive, because they want people to have more kids. So they don't want them to have to spend a lot of money and be getting exploited and all of this. You know what I'm saying? They want to, you know, get people to have more kids, so make it less harder on them. And the people that's exploiting them, you know, they're like putting those people out of business. That's the kind of shit we need to be doing over here, and we're kind of going that way. I think they're gonna have to break up. They're gonna have to bust up Facebook. They're gonna have to bust up Google. They're gonna have to bust up. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna have to do that shit.
Yeah. I mean, we got to get back to manufacturing our own stuff. You know what I'm saying? To truly compete. If we're giving away all of the intellectual properties for somebody else to be able to, build and understand and this, that,
I
and the
think
other.
that's another thing. I should make something about that. But in the future, yeah, I think in the future, you know, because what the tech companies realize is our information is what's the most valuable. That's the new oil. That's the new gold rush, right? So we're gonna be able to protect our information and kind of sell our information individually. You know what I'm saying? Because they're gonna still want that information. So, but as people become more aware that that is what they are really mining you for, then we're gonna have, because I already seen it pop up on my screen for the Apple iOS. Um, they have more options to keep people from being able to get like your information, just like your your search history and shit like that. Because people be talking about their phone listening to them. That's not what it is. It's their search history and all that shit. All the shit you type in, any information you type in the computer, that's the shit they got.
Hmm. Without a
I'm gonna
doubt.
let you. I'm gonna let you go, bro.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna get. I'll holler at you tomorrow, man.
Yeah, peace. I'm probably gonna wrap it too. I'm right at 4 hours too.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. Say peace to the people who've been watching. Somebody been watching the whole time, bro.
Well, I definitely appreciate those folks that's stuck in listening. You know, tell your friends and tell a friend.
Yeah, man. We're
Yeah,
gonna keep it going. We're gonna keep getting better too. Keep improving the channel.
yeah. Well, y'all have a good night, and plan on seeing y'all tomorrow.
All right, man. Peace and love.
Deuces.
All right. Yeah, yeah. I guess I'm gonna wrap it. This is a long ass stream. I need to save some of my energy for tomorrow. And I got a whole show ready for y'all. So I got 2 shows ready for y'all, but after that, I'm gonna have to put one together for Friday. I'll have time though. So yeah, thank y'all for joining, man. Peace and love. Peace and love. Peace and love. Thank y'all for listening. I hope y'all learned something. We want you to be activists. We want you to go out there in your community and try to make a difference. Education is your tool, is your weapon. You know, knowledge is key. It's to open those doors and to be able to create these systems and programs and institutions that we need for our community. And wherever you are, you know, you can create something that can help your community. You do have power. That's the point of this channel. I want everybody to know that you do have power. The media wants you to think that you're powerless, but as we go at this as an individual, of course, our power is very limited. But if we go attack it as a community, then our power is much stronger, and we build the community more and more, and our strength grows more and more. And it don't even matter what laws they pass, what the government is saying, what are they doing. It don't even matter. We're going to have our own thing going, and we're going to take care of each other. That's what we're going to do in the future, y'all. Love y'all. Peace.